The story opens with a group of adventurers frozen in place, their nerves tightening as a system notification appears before them, warning that they are about to encounter an elite monster and urging immediate preparation for combat. Before they can steady themselves, a terrifying roar erupts as a massive spider-like creature reveals itself, its presence suffocating. It is identified as a level 4 elite monster known as the poisoning spider. The moment they notice its enormous health pool of 700 HP, disbelief quickly turns into dread, because such a creature should never appear so close to the beginner village. It becomes clear that facing it head-on would be nothing short of suicide. With that realization, their will to fight collapses as they decide to retreat, convinced that the moment they engage it, they are as good as dead. One of them reflects that this might be the very first elite monster to appear since the beta began, increasing even more weight to the encounter. Among them, a white-haired adventurer urges his companions to run faster, already regretting stepping into this area without proper knowledge. Yet as they flee, their attention is suddenly drawn to something completely unexpected, as another player is seen running in the opposite direction, heading straight toward the elite monster with clear intent to attack, causing immediate confusion and alarm among them. One of the adventurers questions why anyone would charge alone against such a creature, knowing that even a full party of 10 would struggle to take it down. The white-haired man dismisses the lone figure as someone courting death and advises his group to ignore him, assuming they can simply return later to collect whatever equipment he leaves behind after being killed. However, the man charging forward is far from reckless without reason, as his actions carry a quiet resolve, treating the game not as entertainment, but as a path tied to his survival. Before he can even close in, the poisoning spider strikes first with a sudden attack, forcing him to evade at the last second. The attack still grazes his face and inflicts a poison effect that steadily drains 5 HP per second for 60 seconds, placing him in immediate danger. The watching adventurers look on in disbelief, questioning whether he has lost his mind for attempting to solo an elite monster at level 2, while others simply anticipate his failure, waiting for the moment his weapon drops so they can claim it. Instead of faltering, the man swiftly moves behind the monster and activates an ability known as Eye of Insight, allowing him to pinpoint the creature's weak points with precision before delivering a strike that deals triple damage. The result instantly shocks the observers, as the damage far exceeds their expectations. Without hesitation, he draws another weapon, a sword bound to a golden chain, driving it into the ground before rushing forward once more. As the battle continues, the adventurers watching from a distance can hardly believe what they are witnessing as he manages to deal 48 points of damage, something that feels impossible given that it is only the second day since the beta began. Despite this impressive output, they know that such damage alone is still insufficient against an elite monster. Others begin to notice his unusual pattern of embedding chained swords into the ground during the fight, though the purpose behind it remains unclear to them. As the fight drags on, he continues planting more of these chained swords, while enduring both the monster's attacks and the relentless poison effect, eventually forcing him to drink a healing potion to keep himself standing. Even as he recovers, he acknowledges internally that the poison alone is nearly enough to drain him dry, reinforcing his understanding that he cannot afford to prolong the battle. It is here that he is introduced as a player named Grand Dream within the world of the game, a player who presses forward despite overwhelming odds. He launches successive attacks against the elite monster while carefully controlling his movements. Just as he prepares to strike again, the poisoning spider retaliates with unexpected speed, catching him off guard and leaving him no choice but to block with his weapon. The force of the attack still sends him crashing into a massive tree after suffering a critical hit of 50 damage. The hidden onlookers begin to wonder if he is still alive, with some thinking it would be wiser for him to simply accept defeat and try again. Yet, as Grand Dream slowly rises to his feet, he fully acknowledges the terrifying strength of elite monsters, realizing that a slightly stronger hit could have ended him instantly. Instead of retreating, he tightens his grip on the golden chains he had prepared earlier and decides that the warm-up is over. As he pulls on the chains, the trap he has been setting throughout the battle finally activates. The swords embedded in the ground connect and form a tightening perimeter around the poisoning spider, restricting its movement. As Grand Dream advances, dragging the chains forward, he scrapes his blade along them, triggering the full effect as the monster lets out a piercing roar, and its defense drops completely to 0, leaving it with only 50 HP remaining. The watching adventurers are left in complete disbelief as they struggle to comprehend how such a simple arrangement, using beginner equipment, could completely neutralize an elite monster's life. Others realize that the creature can no longer move freely, making the situation even more surreal. The question of how Grand Dream discovered this weakness lingers heavily among them. Before any answers can surface, Grand Dream moves in for the final strike, determined to claim the first elite monster kill. With a decisive blow, he brings the battle to an end, triggering a system notification that appears before all players, announcing and congratulating Grand Dream for achieving the first kill of the elite monster known as the Poisoning Spider. As news of the first elite monster kill spreads throughout the player community, curiosity quickly turns into heated discussion. Many begin to wonder who Grand Dream really is and what kind of rewards he received. Others dismiss the achievement entirely, claiming it is nothing special and assuming that he is just another wealthy player who paid for powerful gear. This speculation is met with doubt, as some players point out that the game was designed to be fair and not pay to win. Even within a virtual world, they begin to feel the same disparities that exist in reality. As these discussions continue, the scene shifts to Grand Dream himself as he removes his helmet. Behind the character is a frail man in a wheelchair, struggling to breathe as he gasps for air. He is introduced as Jiang Liu, a man with only 6 months left to live due to an incurable illness known as myasthenia-like syndrome. The condition continues to weaken his body with no hope of recovery. A doctor once told him that proper medication could extend his life by another 2 years. However, his circumstances make that impossible. He lives in a poor and aging district where his family can no longer afford the cost of treatment. At the lowest point of his life, a message from an old online friend he had met years ago suddenly appears, bringing with it an unexpected opportunity that would change his fate. The message introduces him to New Origin, a global virtual reality game created from a mysterious spiritual world discovered by scientists within a meteorite. Upon its release, the game quickly spreads across the world, not only as entertainment, but as something far greater. It is discovered that individuals who awaken in the real world can cultivate stronger spiritual power and talents through their progress inside the game. During the beta phase of the game, Jiang Liu finds himself inexplicably added to a strange group chat. It does not seem to belong to ordinary players. As he observes the conversations within it, he slowly realizes that the participants are not humans at all, but monsters from within the game itself. By carefully studying their exchanges, he begins to uncover hidden knowledge and secrets about the game's mechanics. At first, he remains skeptical. However, after following the clues and investigating further, he unexpectedly acquires a powerful item known as the Heavenly God's Secret Treasure. He also obtains an amethyst sword and a unique skill called Eye of Insight. This passive ability allows him to identify the weaknesses of his enemies and exploit them for devastating attacks. Orange indicators signify double damage, while red indicators signify triple damage. With this advantage, he begins to consider the possibility that by using the information he gained from the group chat, he could grow stronger at a pace far beyond normal players. Driven by a desperate will to survive, Jiang Liu resolves to become stronger no matter the cost. He is determined to live long enough to escape his current life and bring his family away from the place that has trapped them in suffering. As he recalls the moment his illness was discovered, he remembers the worry and pain in his family's eyes. His younger sister cried while holding his hand. His brother vowed to work tirelessly to earn enough money for his treatment. His parents broke down in tears, and his mother even asked for forgiveness because they were powerless to save him. These memories continue to weigh heavily on him as he injects a yellow substance into his arm. He knows that it is his final dose of medicine, and that it will only allow him to hold on for 3 more days. New Origin has now become his last remaining hope. With renewed determination, he returns to his computer and opens the mysterious group chat once more. His curiosity deepens as he wonders about the identities of the powerful beings within it and the resources and inheritances they speak of. He then decides to log back into the game. Upon entering the world again, he realizes that he had logged out hastily after collecting the drops from the elite monster he defeated and had not even taken the time to check what he had obtained. As he examines his status, he discovers that he has already reached level 4. Upon checking his inventory, he finds that the drops include an elite armor that increases his defense, an elite cloak that boosts his HP, and an elite ring that grants additional luck and mana points. A faint smile appears on his face as he reflects on how unexpected it is to obtain a full elite set along with a silver tier item so early. He also recognizes that equipment dropped by elite monsters is naturally far superior to anything available in the beginner village. Not long after, a voice addresses him as master, and a figure materializes before him. She introduces herself as the system spirit, and congratulates him for achieving the first kill title. She then prompts him to confirm his rewards. Upon doing so, he receives the title of first person to get first kill, granting him an additional 100 HP and mana. He also obtains a passive skill known as 3 rings, which ensures that every third attack on the same target will result in a guaranteed critical hit. He immediately recognizes this reward as extremely powerful. After equipping all of his newly acquired gear, he finds that while the items are impressive, they are also too flashy. He requests the system spirit to conceal his name, level, and title. Once his basic information is hidden, he feels more at ease. After gaining such valuable equipment from the first elite monster kill, his curiosity grows. He begins to wonder what kind of rewards he might obtain if he were to defeat a boss monster. The system spirit explains that equipment drops vary depending on the tier of the monster. In the early stages of the game, before players reach level 20, Black Iron tier items are already considered top tier. Silver tier items have an extremely low drop rate. She further outlines the hierarchy of gear tiers from lowest to highest as crude grade: Black Iron tier, Silver tier, Gold tier, Platinum tier, and Diamond tier. She adds that in general, based on difficulty, items dropped by boss monsters are superior to those from rare monsters, and rare monster drops are superior to those from elite monsters. As this information settles in, a group of adventurers suddenly approaches from behind. Grand Dream glances toward them, as one of the players identifies him as the one who defeated the elite monster. The information is relayed to their leader, Zongheng Tianxia, who acknowledges it and assures the informant that if it proves true, he will be allowed to join their clan. He then turns his attention to Grand Dream and expresses interest in the equipment he is wearing. It becomes clear that they want to inspect it. Grand Dream chooses to ignore them entirely and continues walking forward. He briefly apologizes, stating that he is in a hurry and has no time to entertain them. Before he can leave, two of the players suddenly move to block his path. They insist that their leader wishes to see his gear and frame it as an honor he should not refuse. Grand Dream questions what they intend to do if he declines, even suggesting whether they plan to kill and rob him. Their leader responds with confidence, making it clear that their clan always gets what it wants, and implying that strength determines everything. He then orders one of his subordinates, Dashu, to make the first move. Without hesitation, Dashu draws his greatsword and charges forward, treating the situation as an opportunity to teach Grand Dream a lesson. Grand Dream reacts quickly and leaps back to avoid the incoming strike. While still in midair, he calmly inquires about the game's pain settings. The system spirit informs him that it is set to 5% of real-world sensation. After landing, he signals for the system spirit to step aside as he focuses entirely on the battle ahead. He knows that he cannot afford to be careless. The earlier encounter with the poisoning spider had already triggered symptoms of his illness, even within the game, reminding him that he must avoid taking unnecessary damage. He recalls that he has not yet allocated the attribute points gained from leveling up twice. He decides to invest all 10 points into agility, prioritizing speed and evasion. As his opponents charge at him once more, they even caution Dashu not to damage the valuable gear. In that instant, Grand Dream suddenly disappears from sight. In the blink of an eye, he reappears behind Dashu. He immediately activates Eye of Insight in combination with 3 rings to locate his enemy's weak point. The situation reverses in an instant, leaving his opponent with far greater reason to worry about himself. He then unleashes a rapid series of attacks, and with a perfectly timed triple damage critical strike, he instantly defeats one of his enemies. As the defeated player fades away, disbelief fills his expression, unable to accept that he was taken down in a single overwhelming combo, and in his final moment, he urgently calls out to his leader to secure the gear he is about to drop. Meanwhile, Grand Dream wastes no time and swiftly charges toward Dashu to continue his assault, maintaining relentless pressure as the battle carries on. Watching from behind, the group's leader finds himself unable to comprehend what is happening, questioning how such speed and destructive power could exist at this early stage of the game. At the same time, Grand Dream maneuvers quickly to Dashu's rear, and before Dashu can properly react, he launches a flurry of strikes, though this time he fails to trigger a guaranteed critical hit. Dashu responds by swinging his massive greatsword toward Grand Dream, but the attack is effortlessly evaded, prompting Grand Dream to realize that Dashu's defense is relatively high compared to the others. Ignoring the observation, Dashu prepares another heavy strike and swings again with full force, yet every attack continues to miss as Grand Dream dodges with precise movements. Seizing a brief opening, Grand Dream activates his Eye of Insight and combines it with 3 rings, landing a devastating blow that heavily damages his opponent. As Dashu collapses and disappears, he leaves behind a warning to his leader that the opponent's abilities are unusually strange. With his eyes faintly glowing, Grand Dream shifts his attention toward the group's leader, signaling that the next exchange will be theirs. But before he can act, the leader suddenly grabs the silver-haired man who had provided the information earlier. The man grows visibly nervous, reminding his leader of the earlier promise that he would be allowed to join their group after revealing Grand Dream's location. Yet without any hesitation, the leader throws him forward as a shield, using him to block Grand Dream's advance. For a brief moment, even Grand Dream is caught off guard by such a ruthless act, unable to believe that someone would sacrifice their own companion so casually. Now forced into the fight, attempts to attack Grand Dream, but with superior agility, Grand Dream slips past him and moves behind his position. Before he can counterattack, the leader steps in again and swings his weapon toward Grand Dream with the clear intent to cut him down in a single strike. The battle intensifies as Grand Dream continues to weave through their attacks, landing both double and triple damage strikes whenever an opportunity presents itself. And with a powerful critical hit, the leader is forced back as blood spills from his mouth. Before he can recover, Grand Dream moves swiftly behind him and delivers a decisive finishing blow, reflecting in that moment that true power allows one to act without restraint. As the defeated leader fades away, he leaves behind a bitter vow, declaring that he will remember this, and that one day he will make Grand Dream suffer a far worse fate. After the battle ends, Grand Dream calmly collects the equipment dropped by his fallen enemies and equips a pair of boots that enhance agility, noting that increased speed will be essential moving forward. With his immediate objective complete, he decides to return to the beginner village to resupply and prepare for what comes next. Upon arriving, he notices that the village is far more crowded than before, with many new NPCs appearing throughout the area, prompting him to wonder if any of them might be the powerful figures mentioned in the mysterious group chat. Curious, he considers seeking them out, but as he glances at the community chat, he notices discussions about a player who was reportedly killed by an NPC within the beginner village, something that should not normally be possible, raising his suspicion even further. At that moment, his attention is drawn to a young girl with sparkling eyes, her gaze fixed on a man selling cakes, her mouth watering as she repeatedly asks about the taste of the food. The man proudly explains that the cake was made using honey and wheat flour gathered from the Misty Mountains, emphasizing its quality and flavor, which only causes the girl to drool even more. Annoyed by her reaction, the man dismisses her and tells her to leave, unwilling to let her ruin the calm atmosphere of his afternoon tea. Observing the scene, Grand Dream cannot help but think that the situation feels overly familiar, almost like a cliché storyline, and he begins to wonder if the girl could be one of the so-called powerful figures mentioned in the group chat. Suddenly, the girl begins to cry, revealing that she has not eaten anything for 3 days, and as her tears fall, Grand Dream is reminded of his own younger sister. Memories surface of a time when she cried in a similar way, longing to eat cake, while her older brother tried to brush it off by claiming it is not worth it, even though he himself could not hide his own desire. A faint smile appears on Grand Dream's face as he admits to himself that even if the situation feels cliché, it strikes directly at his weakest point. Without hesitation, he approaches the vendor and asks for the price of the cake. The man responds with a cold expression, questioning his intentions before stating the cost as 1 gold coin, 40 silver coins, and 99 copper coins, which amounts to everything Grand Dream currently possesses. This immediately shocks him, making him wonder if the NPC somehow knows exactly how much money he has. Within the game's currency system, 1 gold coin equals 100 silver coins, and 100 silver coins equals 10,000 copper coins. And considering that even a basic item such as meat costs only a small fraction of that amount, while a standard health potion is far cheaper, the price of the cake is absurdly high, representing all the resources he worked hard to gather. Just as he hesitates, the young girl gently grabs onto his cloak, her expression filled with desperation as she conveys how hungry she truly is. Despite recognizing how unreasonable the situation is, Grand Dream cannot ignore her, and though he considers the vendor's demand ruthless, he ultimately decides to purchase the cake and asks for it to be handed over, reasoning that a quest requiring such a significant cost might lead to something valuable, especially if the girl truly is someone important. The vendor laughs and accepts the payment, thanking him before handing over the cake, but the moment it is received, the atmosphere shifts dramatically as the young girl's demeanor changes, her laughter turning unsettling as a surge of purple aura envelops her. As the energy intensifies, she reveals that his boldness matches the reputation of being the first player to achieve an elite monster kill, and as the transformation completes, she is revealed to be Lunaria. She then explains that many players before him had either backed out upon hearing the price or attempted to trick the system by leaving behind a single coin, while others who spoke carelessly to her were eliminated without hesitation. Hearing this, Grand Dream is left stunned as he realizes the implication behind her words, questioning whether she was the one responsible for killing those players, and coming to the unsettling realization that within this world, even NPCs may possess the power to kill. Lunaria gently lifts her hand and touches Grand Dream's chin, calling him a child while observing that he possesses a kind heart, something she finds pleasing. Before he can even respond, she calmly states that their interaction will end there for now, and tells him that his destiny is not a bad one, instructing him to complete her trial before vanishing instantly without leaving a trace. The sudden disappearance leaves the surrounding players in shock as they begin questioning whether Lunaria was truly the same little girl NPC from earlier. Others wonder how Grand Dream managed to trigger the questline when so many had tried before and failed, and curiosity spreads quickly as they speculate about the nature of the quest and the rewards it might offer. At that moment, a system notification appears before Grand Dream, informing him that he has successfully triggered a quest known as Lunaria's Trial. The requirement is straightforward but demanding, instructing him to hunt little sand turtles and collect 100 turtle gallbladders. Still overwhelmed by everything that has just happened, Grand Dream struggles to believe that he has actually triggered a unique quest. His thoughts then shift to his finances, and as he checks his remaining funds, shock quickly turns into frustration as he realizes that the gold coins he had just earned have already been completely spent. Unable to help himself, he curses Lunaria under his breath, remarking that the money had not even stayed in his possession long enough to feel real. With no other option available, he concludes that he will have to sell the items he obtained, including the drops from the poisonous spider, as well as the crude-grade equipment taken from the 3 Zongheng clan members he defeated earlier. Otherwise, he will have no money left to purchase essential supplies. He makes his way to the market within the beginner village, where his presence quickly draws attention as other players examine the items he puts up for sale. Many express disbelief, questioning whether the equipment is truly crude grade, as the quality appears unusually high. Some observe that the weapons offer 3 to 9 attack points, which is comparable to gaining 2 levels simply by equipping them, while the armor provides 5 defense, equivalent to gaining an entire level's worth of defensive stats. The crowd begins to gather, and offers start to come in, with one player attempting to buy everything for 10 silver coins, only to be criticized by others for undervaluing the items, prompting higher bids. The situation escalates quickly until a single offer stands out, as a player proposes 1 gold coin for all of Grand Dream's items. The bidder is recognized as a level 6 player affiliated with the Immortal Tech Group, a well-known guild backed by significant financial power and influence across various popular online games. His presence alone draws further attention, as players remark on the unexpected arrival of such a powerful organization within New Origin, while others said that the Zongheng clan has also entered the game, indicating that major guilds supported by large conglomerates are beginning to establish their presence. The man from the Immortal Tech Group then approaches Grand Dream and suggests continuing their discussion in a more private setting, an offer that Grand Dream accepts without hesitation. After some time, the man begins by asking whether Grand Dream is a solo player, pointing out that it is not easy for a single individual to acquire such high-quality equipment so early in the game. Grand Dream remains silent, calmly sipping his tea, making it clear that he has no intention of revealing unnecessary details. Sensing this, the man quickly adjusts his approach, clarifying that he has no intention of prying and explaining that his offer of 1 gold coin was merely a gesture of goodwill, as he hopes to establish a cooperative relationship in the future. This leads to a discussion about potential cooperation, during which the man introduces the concept of hidden class medals. He explains that after reaching level 10, players are given the opportunity to choose from 5 standard classes, including warrior, mage, priest, archer, and assassin. But the game itself offers far greater depth, with hundreds or even thousands of hidden classes that can only be unlocked through rare means. He then expresses his interest in acquiring such hidden class medals, stating that if Grand Dream ever obtains one, he is willing to offer a highly competitive price. When questioned about why he believes Grand Dream is capable of obtaining such rare items, the man explains that the game has only been active for a few days. Yet Grand Dream already possesses black iron and silver tier equipment, along with high-quality crude-grade gear that he is able to sell, which strongly suggests a unique and advanced playstyle. Although Grand Dream briefly questions whether the man is curious about this so-called playstyle, the man reassures him that he has no intention of probing further, instead shifting the conversation to share a past example of a powerful solo player who once defeated an entire top-ranked guild despite being vastly outnumbered, a memory that left a lasting impression on him and reinforced his belief that exceptional individuals can shape the balance of power within a game. He explains that he respects players who choose to remain independent, acknowledging that they often have their own methods and motivations, but as someone responsible for managing an organization, he must continuously seek strength and opportunities, which is why he wishes to cooperate. He also admits that he has a strong intuition that Grand Dream is someone who can provide exactly what he needs in the future. Later, as Grand Dream sets out to continue his quest, he reflects on the possibility of cooperating with the Immortal Tech Group if the opportunity arises, though he quickly refocuses on his immediate priority, which is completing Lunaria's trial. He recalls that little sand turtles had been mentioned before in the mysterious group chat, along with information about jagged coastal rocks, prompting him to review the chat history until he finds the relevant details he needs. As he travels toward his destination, he encounters a group of players who stop him and begin questioning him about his level and why he is hiding his identity, even suggesting that there is no shame in being a beginner. Grand Dream chooses to ignore them and continues walking, but as he passes, one of them remarks that his direction suggests he is also heading to hunt little sand turtles, and they mention that their group happens to be short on members capable of tanking damage. They offer to form a party with him, revealing that they are members of the Zongheng clan, but Grand Dream declines the offer without hesitation, stating that he is accustomed to working alone. The group questions his decision, pointing out that little sand turtles possess 10 points of defense and warning that even the top-ranked weapon on the leaderboard, the amethyst sword, only deals 10 to 15 attack damage, implying that attempting to fight them alone without proper equipment would be reckless. They even offer to lend him a weapon if he joins them, unaware that he is actually the owner of the very weapon they are referencing. Despite their warnings, Grand Dream continues on his path without looking back, while one of the group members complains that he is being unnecessarily stubborn, assuming that he simply wants to keep all the rewards for himself, and predicting that he will eventually regret his decision and come back seeking help. As he moves further away, Grand Dream reflects on the irony of the situation, recognizing that the enemies he encountered earlier were also from the Zongheng clan, and having already taken equipment from 3 of their members, he understands that he will need to remain cautious moving forward, as their paths are likely to cross again under less favorable circumstances. When he arrives at the West Coast beach, Grand Dream immediately spots a group of players struggling against a little sand turtle. Their movements are tense and uncoordinated, clearly burdened by the monster's durability. One of them remarks that the creature's defense and health are far too high, noting that they can only inflict a single point of force damage with each attack. Another player reassures the group and instructs them to surround the monster, confident that they can eventually bring it down within 30 minutes if they persist. Observing from a distance, Grand Dream realizes that even when a player's attack is lower than a monster's defense, the system still allows a minimum of 1 point of damage to be dealt, which explains why most players choose to form parties when facing such enemies. Despite this, his attention shifts to something else, as he begins searching for the large rock formation that had been mentioned in the mysterious group chat earlier. Yet at first glance, he cannot locate anything that matches the description. After scanning the surroundings more carefully, he finally notices a forested area nearby where massive rocks are piled together in an unusual formation. Deciding to investigate, he moves toward it and quickly confirms that the location is indeed hidden in plain sight, making it easy for most players to overlook. As he studies the little sand turtles within the area, he discovers that some of them are trapped between the jagged rocks, unable to move freely. Without hesitation, Grand Dream draws his weapon and charges forward, offering a brief apology in his mind to the creatures before striking. Moments later, one of the trapped turtles falls, and elsewhere on the beach, the group of players who had been struggling earlier celebrates their own hard-earned victory after finally defeating a single turtle. They express pride in their teamwork, noting that they can defeat one every 20 minutes, while another excitedly boasts about landing an 8-point critical hit, describing it as an incredible display of power. Encouraged by their success, they prepare to hunt another, but their attention is suddenly drawn to movement within the nearby forest. Curious, they approach cautiously and soon witness Grand Dream in action, unleashing a relentless barrage of attacks against a trapped little sand turtle, with every strike dealing significant and often critical damage. The sight leaves them stunned as they immediately recognize him as the same lone player they encountered earlier. Their expressions shift to disbelief as they struggle to comprehend the overwhelming damage output they are witnessing. The large man among them realizes how foolish it was to consider using him as a damage sponge earlier, while the girl becomes fixated on the weapon in his hand, admiring the amethyst sword and wishing she could possess something similar. The assassin, on the other hand, is struck by the realization that Grand Dream is capable of defeating a little sand turtle in just a minute, concluding that they have encountered someone far beyond ordinary players. As they continue observing, the priest begins to notice something unusual about the environment, pointing out that the turtles in that area are not moving at all. The others soon confirm this, recognizing that the terrain itself has trapped the monsters in place, rendering them almost defenseless. The girl suggests taking advantage of the situation and confronting Grand Dream to claim the area for themselves. Seeing it as a perfect location for leveling, but the assassin quickly dismisses the idea, warning that even if all of them attack together, they might not be able to defeat him, and drawing too much attention could attract other players and complicate matters further. With a serious expression, he proposes calling their leader, Zongheng Tiangxia, believing that securing such valuable information would be considered a great contribution to their clan. The group agrees and prepares to call for reinforcements, determined to claim the spot for themselves. Meanwhile, after checking the items dropped by the turtles, Grand Dream confirms that they are indeed the materials required for Lunaria's quest, though he noticed that the drop rate is disappointingly low, as defeating 4 turtles has only yielded 1 gallbladder. However, he acknowledges that the additional gear and silver coins they drop help offset the effort, making it worthwhile overall. As he stores the items in his inventory, he realizes that he has already reached level 6, though he noticed that fighting level 5 monsters remains exhausting. This leads him to reflect on the imbalance between player levels and monster difficulty within the game, as the disparity feels far more pronounced than expected. Upon reviewing his stats, he noticed that the little sand turtles possess around 500 HP and 10 defense, and without the advantage provided by the terrain, defeating them would be significantly more difficult. Just then, another little sand turtle approaches, its eyes glowing ominously, but before it can even attack, it becomes lodged between the same jagged rocks. Recognizing the opportunity, Grand Dream quickly moves in to strike, thinking that this terrain makes hunting far more efficient. However, before he can land his attack, a sudden explosion erupts nearby, forcing him to react instantly and barely avoid the impact. A far more intimidating roar follows, and he immediately recognizes that a rare monster has appeared, its sudden presence catching him completely off guard. Acting quickly, he checks the group chat once more and recalls recent discussions about the influx of players, leading him to suspect that this creature might be one of the subordinates sent to clear the rock formations. Rather than retreating, Grand Dream steadies himself and prepares for battle, recognizing that this is a crucial opportunity, as maintaining an advantage as a solo player requires securing the first kills of special monsters whenever possible. Not far away, the observing group of players is thrown into confusion by the sudden appearance of the rare monster, questioning how it could have appeared so abruptly, while the girl is momentarily captivated by its imposing appearance. The assassin, however, notices that Grand Dream is already moving toward it, and questions whether he truly intends to fight it alone instead of escaping. Meanwhile, Grand Dream begins the battle by using his superior speed to strike from behind, landing consecutive hits that force the monster to the ground. As the fight progresses, he realizes that the creature's slow movement works to his advantage, allowing him to rely on his agility to maintain distance and control the pace of the battle. With his current attributes, he is now capable of executing a 4-hit combo, giving him confidence that victory is within reach, despite the challenge. As the intense battle continues, more players begin to notice his movements, and his precise maneuvering draws admiration and disbelief, with many questioning which powerful player he could be. Some speculate that even the well-known solo player known as Blood-Drinking Mad Saber might not yet have reached this level, while others argue that defeating a rare monster alone at this stage is simply unreasonable. Despite his efforts, Grand Dream soon realizes that rare monsters are far more resilient than expected, as even after a prolonged exchange of attacks, the creature still retains around 30% of its health. At that moment, he senses something unusual and turns his head, only to see a group of approaching players. Among them are familiar faces, including Tianxia and Dashu, the very individuals he had defeated earlier. As they advance, Tianxia signals his companions with clear intent, making it known that they plan to seize the first kill of the rare monster for themselves and eliminate Grand Dream in the process. Tianxia immediately launches an attack toward Grand Dream, but with a quick leap, the strike is easily avoided. As Grand Dream faces both Tianxia and Dashu, Tianxia commands a portion of his men to focus on the rare monster instead, instructing them to slowly wear it down and leave the final blow for him, as he intends to claim the first kill for himself. Turning his attention back, he mocks Grand Dream, recalling their previous encounter and accusing him of attacking when he was unprepared, calling him despicable for using underhanded tactics and stealing their gear, and declaring that this time he has brought enough people to settle the score. In Grand Dream's mind, the situation is far from favorable, as it has only been a short time, yet their levels have already surpassed his, making him question whether this is the advantage of being backed by a powerful organization, and he realizes that facing them head-on will not be easy. Not far away, the group of players hiding in the bushes wonders if they should step in to claim credit, but their leader quickly shuts down the idea, pointing out that they have not even reached level 6 and would only be throwing their lives away, while the others agree that dying now would cost them both experience and equipment. The assassin suggests that they remain hidden for the time being and wait for an opportunity to secure a low-health kill later, a plan that the group ultimately accepts. Back on the battlefield, one of Tianxia's men charges forward, demanding that Grand Dream return their gear. But before the attack can connect, Grand Dream moves with incredible speed, leaving behind an afterimage as he evades, calmly thinking that if he has defeated them once before, he can do so again. He moves in to counterattack, but Dashu reacts swiftly and intercepts the strike, deflecting it with his weapon, leading Grand Dream to suspect that Dashu is now equipped with defensive gear. At that moment, Tianxia strikes from behind, questioning why Grand Dream is not running away, and before he can react, the axe connects, dealing a heavy critical hit of 32 damage. The impact forces Grand Dream to his knees as he grips onto a nearby rock, his chest tightening as he struggles to breathe, making him question whether the sensation is caused by the attack or the onset of his illness. Without giving him a moment to recover, another attack follows from behind, as one of Tianxia's men taunts him, mocking his title and belittling him as insignificant. They quickly surround him once more, and Tianxia laughs at his condition, describing him as pitiful before offering a cruel ultimatum, demanding that Grand Dream hand over all of his equipment and publicly admit that his first kill title was obtained through deceit, promising to spare him if he complies, but threatening to repeatedly hunt him down and prevent his progress if he refuses. As Grand Dream struggles to catch his breath, he recognizes the familiar signs of his condition flaring up, a precursor to an attack similar to his real-world illness, making the situation even more dangerous. Tianxia urges him to consider the offer, but before anything can be decided, a sudden explosion erupts behind him, drawing his attention as chaos unfolds among his subordinates. They begin to retreat in panic, shouting that the monster has mutated and become far stronger than before, unable to bring it down despite their efforts, with some speculating that the excessive experience they fed it may have triggered the transformation. The mutated monster continues its assault, unleashing a powerful roar that generates a shockwave, sending players flying and dealing massive damage across the area. A system notification appears, informing them that the monster's attack power has increased, though its health has dropped to 19 HP. Tianxia immediately regains control and orders his men to stop retreating, reminding them that the monster is nearly defeated and instructing them to attack together, relying on force damage to finish it off. To motivate them further, he promises that everyone involved will be rewarded with a piece of black iron tier gear once the monster is defeated, a statement that instantly reignites their determination, as the prospect of such valuable equipment outweighs the risk of death. Driven by greed and excitement, the members of the Zongheng clan charge toward the mutated monster, each eager to claim their share of the reward. But amid the chaos, Tianxia suddenly realizes that Grand Dream is no longer where he was. Taking advantage of the confusion, Grand Dream uses his superior agility to break free and dash toward the weakened monster, fully intent on securing the final blow for himself. As he runs, he understands that logging out now would render all his efforts meaningless, so he forces himself to endure just a little longer, pushing through the strain as he silently asks for more time. The moment Tianxia notices his movement, he reacts instantly and gives chase, determined not to let Grand Dream take the first kill of the rare monster away from him. Tianxia tells Grand Dream to get out of the way, but Grand Dream responds that Tianxia is the one standing in his path. Tianxia immediately prepares his axe and readies an attack, questioning whether Grand Dream truly dares to oppose their Zongheng guild. Grand Dream blocks the strike with his weapon, and as the two stand face to face, they both realize that the mutated monster has already turned its attention toward them. Before the creature can land its attack, Grand Dream leaps away to evade it. A massive explosion follows, shaking the battlefield. In the aftermath, Grand Dream activates his Eye of Insight and Three Rings combo, scanning the mutated monster for weak points. He launches a series of precise strikes, landing consecutive critical hits that gradually overwhelm the creature until it is finally defeated. Members of the Zongheng Guild are stunned, unable to believe that Grand Dream has dealt nearly 20 points of damage to the mutated monster, and some immediately begin questioning his background. As Grand Dream lands, a world message appears, announcing that he has achieved the first kill of the rare monster, the little sand turtle. Multiple system notifications follow, indicating that he has leveled up several times. He also receives first kill rewards, including a health pill and a gold-tier weapon known as the Fallen Dagger. Turning back toward the Zongheng Guild, Grand Dream questions where their arrogance has gone after ganging up on him, and asks if they are ready to be completely wiped out. With his newly gained attribute points, he invests everything into agility, and declares that the hunt begins. The members of the Zongheng Guild fall into shock and fear, pleading for him not to come closer. But before they can react, Grand Dream moves with extreme speed and eliminates them one by one with single decisive strikes. The group that had been hiding in the bushes earlier attempts to retreat, but Grand Dream stops them and confronts them directly. In panic, they insist that he does not need to waste energy on them and declare that they will eliminate themselves instead. Moments later, their figures vanish, leaving behind weapons and gear scattered across the ground from the fallen members of the Zongheng Guild. Grand Dream sits down briefly, realizing that he must quickly dispose of the loot and log off to rest. He sends a message to one immortal, asking if he is interested in purchasing 100 pieces of beginner phase gear, and receives an immediate response that he will arrive right away. At that moment, a shadow looms over him. When Grand Dream looks up, he is shocked to discover that another elite monster has appeared. A system notification confirms that the little sand turtle has mutated into an elite monster with 30 to 40 attack, 10 defense, and 700 HP. Grand Dream stands up and draws his sword, remarking that the timing is inconvenient, as this creature always seems to appear at the worst possible moments. He also senses that, based on his symptoms, an ALS-like attack may occur within minutes, meaning he must end the fight quickly. A flashback surfaces in his mind, showing Jianglu seated in a wheelchair while hearing his mother anxiously asking whether his medicine had been purchased, only to be told it had not, causing panic as she explains that it is his only pain relief. His father responds with quiet frustration, acknowledging the financial strain and the needs of the other children. The memory strengthens Grand Dream's resolve as he charges forward, shouting inwardly that he has failed to fulfill his responsibilities as the eldest son for too long. Using Eye of Insight and 3 rings once more, he unleashes a relentless series of attacks against the giant turtle. As the battle continues, another memory flashes, showing Jianglu and his sister Yener looking at the towering buildings of the new district. His sister once expressed her wish to become wealthy, and he had promised with a weak smile that he would work hard to make that dream possible. Now, standing in the midst of battle, he realizes that he has finally found something he can still do despite his frail body, and a chance to change his family's future. With unwavering determination, he tells himself that he cannot give up now. Everything he has built through struggle and risk must now be used to secure a better life for his family, even if it means risking everything on the battlefield before him. Just then, a system notification appeared to all players, informing them that the player Grand Dream had completed the first kill of the elite monster Little Sand Turtle. As players looked up toward the sky, they were once again astonished to see that Grand Dream had secured another first kill. Some reacted with jealousy, immediately questioning what kind of rewards he would receive, while others commented that they had heard he was a solo player. As the community erupted into chaos over Grand Dream achieving his third first kill on special monsters, discussions began to spread about whether he was stronger than the infamous blood-drinking Mad Saber. After the elite monster dropped its items, Grand Dream immediately focused on the glowing purple loot, but before he could collect it, a sudden wave of pain struck him, forcing an immediate log-off. His character remained kneeling in the sand as a system notification appeared, warning that he was currently in a non-safe zone and that logging off in such an area would prevent avoidance of death penalties, leaving his character vulnerable and stationary while exposed to monsters and other players. In the real world, inside Jianglu's room, his gaming helmet suddenly fell off as intense pain overwhelmed his entire body, forcing him to collapse onto the bed while he questioned whether his body could truly endure 6 more months at this rate. At that moment, his mother returned home and immediately called out to him, happily informing him that they had managed to obtain ferocious beast meat and asking about his physical condition. After a brief silence, Jianglu forced himself to leave his room, and despite sweat dripping down his face from the severe pain, he managed to smile and insist that he was in great shape, even offering to help prepare the meal. At the dining table, his mother happily shared that their father had been paid that day, allowing them to prepare their favorite ferocious beast meat, and encouraged everyone to eat together. Their father sat nearby without even serving himself, watching his children eat with quiet satisfaction. Jianglu carefully placed more meat onto Xiaoyu's plate, but Xiaoyu insisted that Jianglu should eat as well. Jianglu gently placed a hand on Xiaoyu's shoulder and explained that Xiaoyu had already reached level 2 as an awakened, and that the ferocious beast meat would help with his cultivation, encouraging him to eat more, while insisting that he himself did not particularly like meat either. Their father also encouraged Xiaoyu to accept it, reminding him that since his brother had given it to him, he should not refuse, especially at such a critical stage. Xiaoyu happily thanked Jianglu and declared that he would quickly reach level 3 as an awakened, so that he could move their family into the new district. Jianglu smiled faintly, while their father praised Xiao Yu and expressed confidence in him. Jiang Lu then reflected on the current world, known as the Star Ocean Era, where animals and plants had undergone massive mutation, transforming into ferocious beasts that constantly attacked human cities. Humanity's living space had been steadily reduced, and social order under the Federation faced severe challenges. However, a small number of humans suddenly developed body enhancement abilities and became known as awakened individuals. These awakened were classified from level 1 to level 10 based on strength, with those above level 3 possessing significantly enhanced physical abilities, and some even manifesting special techniques, making them exceptionally powerful. The Federation, seeing hope in these awakened individuals, began recruiting those above level 3 into newly established jurisdictions, known as the New District. Unlike the Old District, which was filled with outdated infrastructure, disorder, and lack of governance, the New District was a newly developed human territory built with funding from elites across society. It possessed advanced medical systems, cutting-edge technology, and high-quality living conditions, becoming a paradise that countless people in the Old District desperately wanted to enter. Raising an awakened to level 3 had therefore become the key for families in the Old District to gain access to this better life. Jiang Lu finished his meal and said he was full, and that he felt slightly tired so he would rest for a while. But in his mind, he understood that cultivating a level 3 awakened required enormous resources, which ultimately meant money. During this period, he needed to explore the game as much as possible, because even if he could not find a way to survive within it, he still needed to leave behind something that could support his family's future survival. After logging back into the game, Jiang Lu felt a hint of regret that he had been forced to log out earlier, assuming that all the gear he had farmed would likely have been taken by others. However, to his shock, one immortal was standing in front of him, personally guarding all the dropped items from various guild members. Now at level 9, one immortal warned nearby players that if they were not afraid of death, they could attempt to take any item, but he would see it through to the end. The surrounding players quickly backed off, telling each other to forget about the loot, as they could not afford to provoke the immortal group. At that moment, Grand Dream greeted one immortal, who immediately addressed him respectfully as a brother expert, and expressed surprise at his identity, admitting he had not expected the one who killed the rare monster to be Grand Dream. He also warned that logging off at such a critical moment had been unwise. Grand Dream thanked him and explained that something urgent had happened in the real world, forcing him to log out suddenly. He then clarified that all the items present were drops from the Zongheng Guild members who had attempted to ambush him earlier, and that he had called one immortal here to ask if he was interested in purchasing them, leaving the price to his discretion. One immortal remarked that Grand Dream had single-handedly eliminated many players, admitting that his strength was difficult to fully comprehend. Grand Dream simply laughed in response. One immortal then agreed to purchase everything, explaining that the immortal group was in its early stages of development and urgently needed such beginner equipment to strengthen their foundation. He estimated the gear to be worth at least 5 gold coins, but stated that the company could not immediately produce that amount in gold currency, and instead proposed converting it into 50,000 star coins, requesting Grand Dream's bank details so the transfer could be completed that afternoon. Grand Dream immediately agreed. Internally, he was shocked that the immortal group was willing to pay such a high price, realizing that 50,000 star coins equaled nearly a year's income for his parents combined. With this money, he could afford his medicine and ensure that his siblings would be able to eat ferocious beast meat regularly, giving his family a far more stable future. With the deal completed, one immortal collected all the dropped items from the ground, and then unexpectedly asked Grand Dream if he would consider joining the immortal tech group, informing him that they could arrange the best possible treatment for him. Grand Dream fell silent for a moment, immediately considering that joining an organization, especially one like Immortal Tech, would likely ensure favorable conditions given one immortal's character. However, after weighing it carefully, he thanked him for the offer and declined with a smile, explaining that he was still more comfortable as a solo player. Deep inside, he understood that joining an organization would mean being bound to a team structure and giving up many opportunities, and more importantly, he could not guarantee that he would always maintain a leading position. Remaining alone was simply more freeing. One immortal laughed and said he had already expected this answer, though upper management had insisted that he extend the invitation anyway. As he walked away, he reminded Grand Dream to contact him again if there were any future transactions, once again referring to him as Brother Expert. After that, Grand Dream checked his inventory and realized he had not even had time to properly inspect the rewards from the rare monster and elite monster encounters. The system then notified him that he had received a healing potion with a permanent effect that increased his agility by 10 points and maximum HP by 50 points. Next was the Fallen Dagger, a gold-tier weapon with unknown attack attributes that required identification. He also received an elite necklace, a silver-tier item granting an additional skill called Blink, an elite armor piece of black iron tier providing 25 defense points, elite gauntlets granting 10 attack points, and elite boots granting 14 agility points. Grand Dream was satisfied with the drops, especially that there were even gold and silver tier items among them, calling it another unexpected windfall. After equipping the new gear, he laughed and observed that it was a massive upgrade, but upon checking his current stats, he realized the equipment looked too flashy. Not wanting to attract unwanted attention again because of his gear, he asked the system spirit to conceal its appearance and make it look like basic starter equipment. The system spirit immediately complied, and Grand Dream noticed that this was much better. He then examined the fallen dagger again and wondered why he could not see its stats, despite it being a gold-tier item, even questioning whether it required a specific password to unlock. After attempting multiple combinations without success, he became uncertain and wondered if the item was simply useless and should be discarded. However, the moment he threw it away, the dagger suddenly curved mid-air like a boomerang and was caught by a girl who commented that the weapon was quite interesting. Grand Dream was slightly surprised, not expecting Lunaria to appear before him. Lunaria observed that although the weapon's base stats were average, its special ability was quite intriguing. Grand Dream immediately asked her to return the weapon and referred to her as Demoness. Lunaria instantly questioned what he had called her, and in his panic, Grand Dream quickly corrected himself. Lunaria then asked whether he had defeated the mutated rare monster and elite monster and completed her trial. Grand Dream confirmed that it was done and that all quest items were ready. In his mind, he felt fortunate that the earlier monster tornado had affected nearby little sand turtles, allowing him to gather the required number of gallbladders. He submitted the quest items to Lunaria, who praised him in return. As her hands emitted a golden shockwave of energy, she handed him the quest reward, and a golden glow enveloped him as he leveled up to level 10, gaining 5 additional attribute points. Lunaria then tossed the fallen dagger back to him and explained that she had already completed the identification process. After her appraisal, the fallen dagger transformed, gaining 50 to 70 attack power, and an additional special effect called Fallen, which granted a 10% chance to deal 10 times damage to a target. Grand Dream was stunned, realizing that a 10% chance for such extreme damage was incredibly powerful. Lunaria then explained that the final stats of unidentified gear heavily depend on the appraiser's ability, implying that he was fortunate to have someone of her caliber evaluate it. Before leaving, she instructed him to proceed to the Batcave to complete her second trial. A system notification informed him that he had triggered Lunaria's trial too, requiring him to collect 100 vampire bat fangs. As Lunaria vanished into thin air, she casually mentioned that she would be taking the appraisal fee as her reward. Grand Dream, meanwhile, referred to her respectfully as Lord while thanking her. Then he suddenly remembered her words about the reward and checked his wallet, only to realize in shock that all of his money had once again been taken by Lunaria. He cried out in frustration, calling her a true demoness, lamenting that the money he had just earned was gone once again. While walking toward the forest, he muttered that the demoness better have a worthwhile reward for him. Checking his system panel, he recalled a message from a monster chat group suggesting something unusual in the wild, and after reviewing the chat logs, he discovered information about a hidden class medal located in the Batcave. The question remained in his mind, as he did not know the exact location of the hidden class medal, which made him wonder why the players in the group chat had not explained it in more detail, and he also felt it would be awkward to directly ask for clarification. He then decided to call upon the system spirit and inquire if there was any detailed information regarding the Batcave. The system spirit immediately confirmed and explained that the Batcave, being the only passage leading to the unlocked area known as the Misty Mountains, was currently one of the highest difficulty maps in the game. It further explained that monsters within the Batcave were rumored to have a chance to drop the 5 major class medals, which were extremely important for level 10 players preparing to change their class. Grand Dream acknowledged that he had already reached level 10 and could change his class at any time, but if possible, he still wanted to pursue a stronger hidden class instead. He then asked the system spirit if there was any intelligence regarding hidden class medals within the Batcave. The system spirit apologized and explained that in the early stages of the game, information related to hidden classes was extremely limited, and therefore it could not provide any further assistance. Grand Dream accepted this, realizing that even the group chat had not revealed anything useful, meaning he could only rely on himself. However, knowing that hidden class medals existed in the Batcave made the risk worthwhile, and he immediately decided to head there. Sometime later at the entrance of the Batcave, Players were actively forming parties, with most groups looking for high attack damage players, while others prioritized defensive players to tank damage. Grand Dream was slightly surprised to discover that many players had already reached level 10. At that moment, a group of players emerged from the portal muttering in frustration that they had died again, complaining that even 10 players could not defeat a single vampire bat, while others cursed the bats after losing levels. Suddenly, a chubby level 10 man grabbed Grand Dream's shoulder and asked him to form a party, warning that the cave was too dangerous to enter alone, and explaining that since all the bats possessed skills, it would be much easier to fight in a group. However, Grand Dream, remaining a solo player, politely declined the offer. As he walked alone toward the portal, the surrounding players were shocked and wondered if he was actually entering alone, even questioning what kind of god-tier player he might be. Once inside the cave, Grand Dream observed that it was the perfect opportunity to test his newly upgraded weapon. He also remembered that he still had 5 unallocated attribute points from earlier, and as usual, he assigned all of them into agility. Compared to before, his overall stats had increased significantly after leveling up, and he judged that it should be sufficient to complete Trial 2. However, as he continued forward, he suddenly sensed a surprise attack from behind. He quickly jumped to evade the incoming strike from a vampire bat, and remarked that the creature lacked martial discipline for attempting a sneak attack. He immediately dashed forward, choosing the bat as his first target. After a series of continuous attacks, the bat attempted to counter with its wings, but Grand Dream easily evaded the retaliation. Using his eye of insight, he observed that the bat's movements were sluggish, and even mocked its speed as being comparable to washing an old lady's feet. He then struck again, dealing 97 points of damage, and using his agility, he leapt behind the bat, using the cave wall to accelerate his movement before launching a faster follow-up attack. With multiple successful hits and a critical strike, he eliminated the first bat inside the cave. Immediately after, a system notification appeared, warning him that he was about to encounter an elite monster. As the elite vampire bat launched an attack, Grand Dream smiled and remarked that this was more like it. However, based on information from the monster group chat, elite monsters were not supposed to drop hidden class medals. At that moment, he noticed a small and unusual bat positioned behind the incoming swarm. The elite vampire bat briefly hesitated, as Grand Dream focused his attention on the smaller creature at the back, and questioned whether what he was searching for might actually be on that tiny bat. Meanwhile, in another area of the bat cave, a brown-haired man loudly instructed his team to listen carefully, emphasizing that the most important strategy against vampire bats was to stay alert, focus on dodging, and only attack stragglers with low HP. He stated that their 5-person team could definitely defeat one vampire bat together. However, the girl beside him suddenly pointed ahead and urged their captain to look. They were all shocked to see Grand Dream effortlessly fighting multiple vampire bats while advancing forward, even questioning where he thought he was going as he moved through them. The brown-haired man was stunned, wondering if Grand Dream was truly chasing down 5 vampire bats and an elite monster alone, while a silver-haired teammate recognized his weapon and identified it as the Fallen Dagger, ranked first on the weapon leaderboard. As Grand Dream slashed through another bat, he told it to stop blocking his path. The bat let out a final squeak as Grand Dream unleashed a total of 1,800 points of critical damage, instantly killing it. All players received a system notification announcing that Grand Dream had achieved the first kill of the elite vampire bat monster. The brown-haired man was left in disbelief, his vision momentarily blurring as he asked his teammates if they had ever seen damage reaching 1,800 in a single strike. Meanwhile, Grand Dream felt satisfied, realizing that he had successfully triggered his 10 times damage effect for the first time, and he could not help but think that it was truly powerful. But just then, he noticed that the small bat creature was trying to escape, so he immediately dashed forward to capture it. However, before he could close the distance, another group of players blocked his path after realizing that he was Grand Dream. The girl immediately expressed admiration for him, saying she had fallen in love at first sight, calling him handsome, and even commenting on his physique while suggesting they should add each other as friends. The brown-haired man, on the other hand, referred to Grand Dream as a big shot and asked him to carry their team. Grand Dream ignored all of them because his focus remained entirely on the escaping small creature, and he instructed everyone not to block his way, stating that he was very busy. However, the group of players remained overly persistent, continuing to call him a big shot and even asking for a chance to cling to his support. After some time, Grand Dream decided to use his agility to quickly slip away from the crowd and hide. The group continued searching for him and even began blaming each other, saying that someone had scared the big shot away. Grand Dream then focused on checking the loot dropped by the elite monster, and to his surprise, he obtained an Archer class change medal. However, he quickly realized it was only a standard class medal, concluding that the hidden class medal must still be elsewhere. At that moment, someone contacted him through the system, and after putting on his earbuds, he asked one immortal if they truly wanted him to lead a team in the Batcave. One immortal immediately confirmed and explained that they were willing to pay 30,000 star coins per person that Grand Dream carried through, on the condition that all class medals obtained in the Batcave would belong to them, and asked if he agreed. Grand Dream responded that 30,000 was too much for a place like the Batcave, and countered with 20,000 star coins per person instead. He further explained that the 5 standard class medals would go to Immortal Tech, but the hidden class medal would be reserved for himself. One immortal admitted that he was also aiming for the hidden class, and asked whether, if 2 hidden class medals dropped, Grand Dream would be willing to leave one for him. Grand Dream immediately agreed. One immortal then said they would arrive right away. Grand Dream observed that one immortal acted quickly and decided to use this opportunity to earn extra money, believing there would be no complications. Meanwhile, in the real world, inside Zongheng Tianxia's office, he slammed his desk in anger while cursing Grand Dream. A man with yellow hair tried to calm him down, referring to him as boss, and stating that it was only a first kill in a Batcave elite monster encounter. He further explained that their organization had strong backing and could easily recover, advising him not to worry. Tianxia angrily responded that it was impossible not to worry, reminding him that their team's gear had already been completely wiped out previously and that the higher-ups had already held him accountable, and everything was happening because of Grand Dream and that he was now facing possible demotion. He then asked Xiaoniao what blood-drinking Mad Saber had said. Xiaoniao replied that blood-drinking Mad Saber was willing to join the Zongheng group and had agreed to carry them through the Batcave, but demanded a 1 million star coin joining fee and 50,000 star coins per person carried. Tianxia reacted angrily, saying blood-drinking Mad Saber was too bold to demand such payment. But he also acknowledged that the player had a strong reputation in other online games. Although his exact strength in New Origin was still uncertain, Tianxia believed that as long as he was powerful enough, money was not a problem. He then asked whether blood-drinking Mad Saber was willing to help deal with Grand Dream. Xiaoniao reassured him that there was no need to worry, explaining that blood-drinking Mad Saber already held a grudge against Grand Dream for stealing multiple first kills, and had even agreed to a live-streamed 1 versus 1 duel to establish dominance in New Origin. Xiaoniao also informed him that blood-drinking Mad Saber had just achieved the first kill on the Little White Fox boss monster, the first boss monster first kill in the entire game, proving his strength. Tianxia's eyes lit up with renewed confidence as he declared that everything Grand Dream had taken from him would be returned with interest. Meanwhile, inside the Batcave, one immortal and his teammates were walking when someone asked what Grand Dream looked like. One immortal described him as a quiet young man who hid his level and identity and always acted alone. After a short while, they finally saw Grand Dream, who waved and greeted one immortal. One immortal immediately called him Brother Expert and apologized for the wait. Immortal Boo then asked if he was really Grand Dream, saying she had expected a heavily armored and muscular warrior, and questioned why he looked so thin. In Grand Dream's thoughts, he reasoned that the game simply generated avatars based on real physical bodies. Immortal Sa commented that he looked completely ordinary, and questioned whether he could really carry all 3 of them, especially since vampire bats had unusually high stats. As Grand Dream remained silent, one immortal smacked Immortal Sa on the head, dealing 15 damage, and immediately apologized for his teammates' disrespect, assuring him they were not bad people. Immortal Sa then complained that even 5% real-world pain feedback was still quite painful. Before they could continue speaking, Grand Dream noticed a vampire bat preparing a sneak attack. He immediately warned them to get down just before the strike landed, and when they stood up again, multiple vampire bats were already circling and preparing to attack. Grand Dream instructed them to be careful, explaining that vampire bats specialized in ambush attacks from behind, and stated that he would handle all 3 bats himself. One immortal referred to Grand Dream as Brother Expert, and stated that they had also come there to assist him, but before he could finish speaking, Grand Dream suddenly dashed forward toward the vampire bats. Grand Dream unleashed a continuous and simultaneous assault against all 3 vampire bats, each strike forming part of a combo with guaranteed critical hits. As he relentlessly pressed the attack, the total damage accumulated to a staggering 2,900 critical strike points with the finishing blow. With a calm expression, he declared that it was over, and that all 3 vampire bats had been eliminated. As the bats vanished, everyone from the Immortal Tech group was left in complete shock. Immortal, Sa immediately asked one immortal whether he had truly seen 2,900 damage points, and whether Grand Dream had actually insta-killed a vampire bat. One immortal, still stunned, admitted that he did not fully understand what he had just witnessed either, as he had not seen Grand Dream for several days, and now it seemed his brother expert had grown even stronger. Immortal Boo, on the other hand, commented in confusion, asking why Grand Dream looked so handsome. Grand Dream informed them that they were quite lucky, as an archer-class medal had dropped, and he immediately handed it to one immortal, while instructing them to continue moving forward. As one immortal caught the class medal, he asked if the fallen dagger currently in Grand Dream's hand was the one ranked first on the weapon leaderboard. Immortal Sa also began calling Grand Dream as brother expert, and questioned the source of his damage output, as his equipment still looked extremely ordinary. Immortal Boo then curiously asked how old his brother expert was. Grand Dream remained silent under their overwhelming barrage of questions, thinking to himself that this was exactly why he preferred being a solo player. As they continued deeper into the dungeon, they suddenly paused upon noticing 3 branching mini-caves ahead. One immortal asked Grand Dream which path they should take, but Grand Dream admitted that it was also his first time in this area. In the end, they decided to randomly choose a path, believing it did not matter since Brother Expert was with them. However, Immortal Boo suddenly questioned why Immortal Sa was acting smug, and at that moment she noticed movement above them. Looking upward, they saw numerous vampire bats gathering overhead, and one immortal immediately remarked that even if they could revive after death, being drained by bats would still leave severe psychological trauma. One immortal then asked Grand Dream to change routes, but Grand Dream raised his hand and asked them to wait. And at that exact moment, he suddenly became visibly excited after finding what he had been looking for. He pointed toward a small bat and confirmed that it was the one that had escaped earlier. Grand Dream then told one immortal that there was no need to change paths, as the more monsters there were, the greater the rewards, and there might even be unexpected gains. Deep inside, he realized that this was also a perfect opportunity to complete Lunaria's trial in one sweep if he eliminated all the vampire bats here. Immortal Sa then remarked that with so many vampire bats attacking at once, even if Grand Dream was fast, there was no way he could evade them all. One immortal agreed, and warned that if Grand Dream dropped his weapon, they would not be able to afford compensating him. However, Grand Dream calmly stated that he already had a plan, and asked them to move further back so they would not get caught in it. The moment he mentioned that the vampire bat bleed effect caused 50 HP loss per second, all of them immediately retreated to safety even before he finished speaking. Grand Dream flipped his weapon and launched an attack toward the nearest bats. But since they were not instantly killed, one immortal and the others became extremely tense, unable to believe that Grand Dream had failed to one-shot a vampire bat, and they realized that once combat began, all nearby bats would be alerted. However, just before the vampire bat could strike Grand Dream, his figure suddenly vanished, causing one immortal and the others to freeze in shock. As Grand Dream reappeared, Immortal Boo immediately asked what he had just done, while Immortal Sa quickly identified it as a blink skill, and demanded to know where such a high-tier ability came from. Meanwhile, Grand Dream calculated that his blink distance was currently around 25 meters, but the cooldown was relatively long at 2 minutes. At that moment, another vampire bat launched an attack, but Grand Dream simultaneously countered it with a precise strike. Immortal Sa realized that Grand Dream intended to lure the bats away one by one to avoid drawing the attention of the others. In Grand Dream's mind, although the blink skill had a long cooldown, his current strategy was sufficient, and he calmly observed the small bat, mentally telling it to wait its turn. After receiving a system notification confirming the acquisition of vampire bat fangs as quest items, Grand Dream continued systematically eliminating the bats one by one. 2 hours later, aside from the small bat, every vampire bat in the area had been wiped out. He had also leveled up twice during the process and chose to continue investing all attribute points into agility. With Lunaria's second trial now complete, Grand Dream decided that it was finally time to deal with the small bat. However, when he looked back, Grand Dream could hardly believe how relaxed the members of Immortal Tech were acting, and he immediately reminded them that this area was not a safe zone. At that moment, Immortal Sa asked whether Grand Dream was finished, mentioning that he had briefly gone to eat in the real world, while Immortal Boo also asked if she had fallen asleep earlier. Grand Dream informed them that only one target remained, pointing toward the small bat that had been left behind. Meanwhile, when one immortal logged back in, he deliberately acted angry to avoid suspicion and immediately told his teammates that while they were logged off, Brother Expert had single-handedly fought over 200 vampire bats and obtained more than 30 class medals, and could not believe they had missed such a valuable learning opportunity by logging off. Immortal Saw then walked toward Grand Dream and asked what they were waiting for, suggesting that they finish off the last target and call it a day. But Grand Dream explained that he was still waiting for Blink's cooldown to recover, explaining that the small bat was extremely fast and he did not want it escaping again. However, Immortal Saw suddenly drew his weapon and insisted that Brother Expert was being too cautious, stating that such a small target should be left to him, since he could not simply stand by and take rewards without contributing. Grand Dream tried to stop him and asked him to wait, but before he could finish speaking, Immortal Saw dashed forward to attack. As he prepared his strike, Immortal Saw even mocked the small bat, only for the creature's eyes to suddenly glow as it unfurled its wings and released a powerful wind-based attack directly toward him, sending Immortal Saw crashing to the ground. One Immortal immediately turned to Grand Dream and asked what was happening, but Grand Dream remained silent, realizing his earlier suspicion had been correct as the small vampire bat had mutated. A system notification then appeared, informing them that the creature in front of them was now identified as a mutated giant vampire bat, with increased attack power of around 250, 50 defense, 4000 HP, and an additional bleed skill. The members of Immortal Tech immediately felt a surge of fear, and Immortal Say questioned whether the creature could still even be called a vampire bat, while Immortal Boo stared at its 4000 HP in disbelief, asking if the game was joking with them. One Immortal drew his weapon and urged Grand Dream to take the injured teammate and retreat first, stating that the monster's stats were simply too terrifying. However, the others also drew their weapons, and Immortal Saw refused to back down, insisting that one Immortal was underestimating them and that they finally had a chance to stretch their abilities, questioning how they could run away now. Immortal Boo also agreed, stating that at worst, they could simply revive and try again. One Immortal rejected that idea and reminded them that they had entrusted Grand Dream to lead them, meaning they should follow his arrangement, and he immediately asked Grand Dream to talk some sense into Immortal Boo and Immortal Saw. Grand Dream then smiled as he looked back at them and asked whether they remembered his earlier mention that the monster they were facing might contain a hidden class medal, causing one Immortal to immediately question whether he was certain. Grand Dream replied that although it was only speculation, the possibility was high enough that it was worth the risk. One Immortal immediately agreed to continue the fight and asked Grand Dream how he intended to handle the monster. Grand Dream then moved forward, instructing them to spread out and prepare their red health potions for support. However, before he could even reach the mutated vampire bat, the creature launched another attack, which he easily evaded. Using his exceptional speed, Grand Dream moved behind the monster and launched a series of consecutive attacks, but when the creature turned toward him, he activated Eye of Insight and found no visible weakness. One Immortal then questioned why Grand Dream's damage suddenly seemed lower, while Immortal Saw admitted he did not know the reason either. He felt increasing tension and unease, realizing that if even he could not properly fight this mutated creature, none of them would be able to match it. He continued to dodge and attack, but each strike dealt less damage than expected, and he could not understand why no weakness could be found. Suddenly, he failed to notice a fast incoming attack from the monster, causing him to be sent flying after taking 214 damage, crashing into the cave wall with a violent explosion. The members of Immortal Tech immediately became anxious, and as Grand Dream slowly stood up, a system notification appeared, informing him that he had entered a bleed state and would lose 50 HP per second for 10 seconds. Before Grand Dream could even regain his footing, the monster launched another attack toward him, but Immortal Saw quickly stepped in and chose to intercept the strike from the mutated creature, refusing to let it get any closer to Brother Expert. At the same time, Immortal Boo also rushed in and unleashed her own attack, shouting in frustration as she struck toward the monster to push it back. Grand Dream immediately used a healing potion to stabilize his condition, while one Immortal checked on him and asked if he was all right. Grand Dream apologized, admitting that he did not expect the fight to become this difficult, and asked for a few seconds to recover before rejoining the battle. One Immortal then placed a hand on his shoulder and provided additional potions, calmly assuring him that it was fine because Immortal Jew and the others could hold the line for a while. Hearing this, Grand Dream began to wonder if one Immortal was planning to call for backup, but he quickly concluded that it would likely arrive too late, as they might already be overwhelmed before any reinforcements could reach them. Still, he asked for a little more time, and one Immortal responded with confidence, saying there would be no problem and that they could hold on for now. Though in the end, they would still have to rely on him. He explained that without Grand Dream, they would have no chance of defeating a monster of this level. At that moment, Jiang Lu was suddenly pulled into a memory, recalling how he had always been the one needing care from others, understanding their concern but constantly reminded of his own weakness. Yet for him, being treated as someone strong, felt incredibly rare and valuable, making him unwilling to tarnish the title of brother expert. Meanwhile, Immortal Zhu was engaging the mutated monster in close combat, while Immortal Bu attempted to draw its attention with ranged attacks, though after missing, Immortal Zhu immediately reminded her to aim carefully and not waste arrows. At the same time, Grand Dream continued consuming HP potions, and one immortal asked if he had come up with a strategy. Grand Dream confirmed that he had a plan but needed their cooperation, and one immortal immediately agreed, saying they were ready to assist and asked for instructions. Grand Dream then asked them to buy him a few seconds during the gaps between the monster's attacks, warning that its damage output was extremely high, and advising them to use long-range methods to restrict its movement if possible. However, one immortal's expression darkened as he realized there was no proper ranged attacker among them, with only Immortal Bu having a bow, but her current condition made it unreliable for the plan. Because of this, Immortal Zhu stepped forward and declared that he would handle it himself. He then requested the Archer class medal from one immortal, and explained that he only needed to perform a class change into an archer, and he can use Immortal Bu's bow temporarily. One immortal asked if he was certain, warning that a class change medal could only be used once, and reminding him that he had been searching for a hidden class medal instead, warning him that once he chose Archer, there would be no turning back. He even suggested that one immortal should take it instead, but Immortal Zhu told him to stop hesitating, and immediately confirmed the class change into Archer. Grand Dream remained silent as the decision was made, while Immortal Zhu instructed Immortal Bu to hand over her bow and stop firing randomly to conserve arrows. After completing the class change, Immortal Zhu stated that he would handle the rest, and drew his first arrow, remarking that being an archer did not feel bad at all. He then prepared his attack and aimed directly at the mutated monster, shouting as he released the arrow, successfully striking the creature's body. Immediately after, he retreated while commenting that he might now even deal higher damage than Brother Expert. However, the mutated vampire bat suddenly became enraged and turned its attention toward him, forcing Immortal Zhu to retreat while urgently calling for assistance. Grand Dream seized the opportunity, moving swiftly behind the monster and drawing its attention, causing it to turn toward him instead. In that moment, Grand Dream carefully observed its movements and unexpectedly identified a weakness he had been unable to detect before, realizing that just as he suspected, the monster's true vulnerability lay in its eye, though it had taken him considerable time to discover it. Grand Dream immediately launched a continuous series of attacks toward the monster's head, each strike landing with precise timing as he maintained relentless pressure. After witnessing the damage output, Immortal Zhu could not help but comment that the game felt completely broken, because even after completing his class change, he still could not reach Grand Dream's level of damage. At that moment, Grand Dream instructed him to aim for the monster's eyes, and Immortal Zhu immediately drew his bowstring and fired a direct shot, successfully hitting the target and dealing 120 damage. Excited by the result, Immortal Zhu celebrated, claiming that he had landed another hit, and praising himself as an absolute genius. The members of Immortal Tech were overwhelmed by what they were witnessing, with Immortal Bu even questioning whether what she was seeing was real, as Immortal Zhu was cooperating seamlessly with Grand Dream in combat. Grand Dream continued to launch simultaneous attacks against the mutated monster, with each strike gradually increasing his overall damage output. Immortal Zhu soon noticed how serious Grand Dream was in the fight, and felt that he was about to lose the spotlight, asking for another opportunity to land a hit. Grand Dream looked back and agreed, calling him a master archer and stating that he would leave the final blow to him. Immortal Zhu then released a rapid arrow, but the damage was significantly lower than expected, causing Immortal Bu to laugh and mock the result, commenting that the so-called Master Archer's damage was extremely low. One immortal added that compared to Brother Expert, Immortal Zhu's damage was insignificant, prompting Immortal Zhu to angrily tell them to shut up and reminding them that non-combat members should stay out of the discussion. At that moment, Grand Dream prepared his final attack, and after a series of powerful strikes, the mutated monster let out a final roar of agony before collapsing and dying. As Grand Dream landed, he glanced at his weapon and silently think that his luck had not been very good, as he had failed to trigger the fallen dagger's 10 times damage effect throughout the entire battle. Shortly after, Immortal Bu asked one immortal how he had met Brother Expert, and how he had become so strong, and one immortal explained that he had originally met him at a street stall while purchasing gear, and had never expected him to be this powerful. Meanwhile, Grand Dream was surprised to discover that the mutated monster had dropped 2 hidden class medals, one being the Wind Whisperer and the other the Druid class. Immortal Bu immediately became excited and asked if the items in his hands were truly hidden class medals, and Grand Dream confirmed it, and told them that their luck was excellent, and that there were even two of them. Immortal Boo's eyes widened in excitement, and she jumped in joy, declaring that they had struck it rich this time. Grand Dream then informed them that, as previously agreed, he would keep one for himself and give the other to them. One immortal suggested that due to the danger they had just faced, both medals should be kept by Grand Dream. But Grand Dream replied that this time he was not the only one responsible for the gains, as Immortal Jiu had also contributed, and a promise must be kept. He then handed one hidden class medal to one immortal, stating that it was what they deserved. Immortal Jiu happily agreed, saying that he had truly put in effort this time, but before he could finish speaking, he was suddenly struck by a massive sword attack, and instantly killed before anyone could react. As his body vanished, shock and alarm filled the group, and when they turned, they saw Tianxia standing behind them, declaring that all rewards should belong to him. Tianxia mocked Immortal Tech, stating that their organization had clearly fallen if even an executive was using such low-grade crude equipment, and questioned whether they had become this pathetic. One immortal immediately shouted in anger, stating that Immortal Tech and Zongheng clan had never interfered with each other, but before he could charge forward, Grand Dream stopped him. Tianxia then declared that they had always been rivals, claiming that Immortal Tech had previously taken gear dropped by his group at the beach, and now they were even using Grand Dream, the mortal enemy of Zongheng clan, to lead their team, forcing him to strike first. He then ordered his subordinates to demand all hidden class medals and equipment, promising them a quick death if they complied. One immortal shouted Tianxia's name in anger, but Grand Dream once again stopped him, telling him to calm down and reminding him that Tianxia and his men were nothing more than defeated opponents. He then instructed one immortal to take Immortal Bu and step back while he handled Zongheng clan himself. At that moment, one of Tianxia's men stepped forward and mocked Grand Dream, stating that someone who had only completed 4 first kills was speaking too boldly, and with a sharp glare, he challenged Grand Dream directly, asking if he dared to fight him. One immortal immediately identified the man standing before them as blood-drinking Mad Saber. At the same time, blood-drinking Mad Saber looked at Grand Dream and stated that everyone on the forums was debating who was stronger between them, but in his eyes, Grand Dream was not even qualified to be mentioned in the same category as him. Grand Dream then activated Eye of Insight and quickly analyzed him, discovering his full name, his Gale Wanderer class, and confirming that he also possessed a hidden class. At that moment, 2 women from the Zongheng Guild released drones and announced that they would begin a live stream to settle the absurd debate within the community. As the battle inside the Batcave was broadcast live, comments from countless players flooded in from all directions. After a brief moment, Grand Dream agreed to fight blood-drinking Mad Saber and drew his weapon, but one immortal immediately asked him to wait. One immortal warned that blood-drinking Mad Saber was extremely arrogant and paranoid, constantly obsessed with maximizing critical hit damage in every game he played, and that no one had ever defeated him in a duel. He further explained that blood-drinking Mad Saber had already completed a hidden class change and was likely built for critical hits. He then suggested that Grand Dream should consider using the hidden class medals he had just obtained to perform a class change first, increasing his chances of winning. Immortal Bu also agreed, insisting that Grand Dream must win no matter what. Looking at the hidden class medals in his possession, Grand Dream briefly questioned whether he should change his class. After a moment of hesitation, he handed both medals to one immortal, asking him to keep them safe for now, stating that he would make his decision after they left, and reassuring him not to worry because when it came to critical hits, he would not necessarily lose. In his mind, this was not the right time to make a rushed decision, as acting hastily would be disrespectful to the outcome. As the live stream continued, viewers commented on Grand Dream's appearance, with some noticing how handsome he looked, while others excitedly discussed how the first person to get first kill would face the game's strongest solo player in what promised to be an intense battle. Blood-drinking Mad Saber then asked if Grand Dream needed time to prepare or recover his pitiful HP, and inform him that once the fight began, he would not accept any excuses or surrender. Grand Dream calmly replied that there was no need, and immediately blood-drinking Mad Saber launched his attack, commanding Grand Dream to die. He activated Gale Slash, sending powerful energy waves forward. One immortal and Immortal Bu were both shocked by the speed of the attack, but Grand Dream reacted instantly, dodging it with ease and dashing forward. He activated Blink to appear behind blood-drinking Mad Saber, but blood-drinking Mad Saber mocked him as foolish, while acknowledging his reflexes. Ignoring the taunt, Grand Dream activated Eye of Insight and launched a series of simultaneous attacks, yet to his shock, blood-drinking Mad Saber managed to block his third strike. Surprised by the successful defense, Grand Dream chose to retreat and reposition, using his agility to kite the opponent at high speed. As the live stream continued, viewers were stunned by Grand Dream's movement speed, and that they had never seen a player with over 60 agility before. Some claimed that Grand Dream was avoiding direct confrontation, while others insisted that blood-drinking Mad Saber remained firmly in control. As Grand Dream continued his assault, he realized that blood-drinking Mad Saber did not have a single wasted movement, and he was clearly guarding against the timing of Grand Dream's 3-ring critical strike pattern. Blood-drinking Mad Saber's defense was clean and precise, and despite dealing nearly 500 damage, he still had not used any healing potions. This led Grand Dream to question exactly how much HP blood-drinking Mad Saber actually had. Watching the battle, Tianxia analyzed the situation and concluded that while Grand Dream's movement and attack speed were impressive and difficult to counter, he had already identified his attack rhythm. As long as he defended properly against the third strike, Grand Dream's damage was not as threatening as it appeared. Meanwhile, viewers of the stream began criticizing Grand Dream, calling him weak and disappointing, with some claiming that the first person to get first kill was overrated, while others praised blood-drinking Mad Saber's mechanics as top tier. Tianxia then instructed his subordinates to block the revival point outside the Bat Cave, ordering them to kill Grand Dream repeatedly upon respawn until he dropped to level 0. In his mind, once Grand Dream was eliminated, they would recruit blood-drinking Mad Saber into the Zongheng Guild, elevating their reputation and advancing his position within the company. As the battle continued, Grand Dream kept up his high-speed attacks but still failed to break through blood-drinking Mad Saber's defense. Blood-drinking Mad Saber calmly stated that Grand Dream's offense was sharp, but as long as he could predict his movement, it was meaningless. Immortal Boo then noticed that blood-drinking Mad Saber's HP was regenerating automatically, and one immortal confirmed that it must be a hidden class skill, allowing rapid recovery after taking damage. Realizing that this would make the fight extremely difficult for Grand Dream going forward. Just then, blood-drinking Mad Saber declared that trash would always remain trash, and told Grand Dream that he would now show what real critical hit damage looked like. Veins bulged across his eyes as his power gathered, and Grand Dream immediately sensed that the opponent's charging state felt off, as if it needed to be interrupted. As he launched a simultaneous attack, he couldn't help but question how much HP blood-drinking Mad Saber actually had. At that moment, blood-drinking Mad Saber commanded Grand Dream to die while insulting him as trash. Grand Dream was shocked by the sudden burst of aggression, and as blood-drinking Mad Saber executed his Gale Burst slash, Grand Dream barely managed to evade using his Blink skill. Upon landing, he realized that without Blink, his HP would have been completely wiped out just now. Blood-drinking Mad Saber laughed and called him a kid, pointing out that his skill could be used consecutively, and asking whether Blink could do the same. Grand Dream internally analyzed that there should be a brief gap between Blink activations, and while blood-drinking Mad Saber was still in his skill-charging phase, Grand Dream launched a rapid sequence of attacks, dealing heavy damage. However, with a loud shout, blood-drinking Mad Saber again ordered him to die, and unleashed another Gale Burst slash, landing a devastating hit of 415 damage in a single strike. Grand Dream endured the impact and quickly retreated to avoid a follow-up attack, shocked to realize that after just one exchange, only 12 HP remained. He immediately drank a healing potion to recover 30 HP. Blood-drinking Mad Saber laughed even louder, expressing satisfaction at landing a clean hit. Members of Immortal Tech grew increasingly anxious, and as one Immortal had anticipated, even Grand Dream seemed unable to handle blood-drinking Mad Saber. The Zongheng Guild members laughed in response, while Tianxia declared that the name Zongheng would soon be known across the world. Blood-drinking Mad Saber then prepared his next attack, stating that he would end Grand Dream's dream once and for all, and usher in his own era. He further declared that encountering Grand Dream was nothing but bad luck for him, and that he would gladly take all the gear Grand Dream would drop. Grand Dream silently confirmed the same thought, acknowledging the situation as truly unlucky. However, he steadied himself and prepared for his final counterattack, as he had waited too long for this moment, and should finally be able to trigger the Fallen Dagger's 10 times damage effect. As he rushed forward, blood-drinking Mad Saber mocked him again, calling him trash, and insisting that even 100 chances would not be enough for him to win. Blood-drinking Mad Saber confidently accepted Grand Dream's consecutive attacks, while Grand Dream internally urged his weapon to trigger just once, believing it would be enough. As he landed his third and final strike, the Fallen Dagger finally activated its 10 times damage effect, unleashing nearly 4,000 damage in a single burst. Blood-drinking Mad Saber was utterly shocked, unable to process what had just happened, and before he could react further, he was instantly killed by Grand Dream. As he vanished, He could not accept that he had been defeated. Members of the Zongheng Guild were also stunned and immediately questioned what had just occurred, unable to comprehend the 4-digit damage number. One immortal refused to believe it, realizing that Grand Dream had actually won. The livestream audience was equally shocked, reacting to the massive damage output, while noticing that the weapon in Grand Dream's hand was ranked number 1 on the weapon leaderboard. Some speculated it was a passive effect, calling it unfair, while others argued that there should be no double standards, questioning whether it was fair for a hidden class player to fight an unclassed one. Tianxia, still in disbelief, knowing that blood-drinking Mad Saber was widely regarded as the strongest solo player in every game, yet even he had been defeated by Grand Dream, allowing him to steal the spotlight. He then ordered his subordinates to stop staring and turn off the live stream. Grand Dream knelt down and inspected the loot left behind by blood-drinking Mad Saber, discovering a hidden class medal known as Edge Berserker and a White Fox Tribe treasure map. He silently wondered whether these items were obtained after blood-drinking Mad Saber defeated the Little White Fox boss, concluding that he had struck a jackpot. Just then, Tianxia ordered Grand Dream to drop the items and commanded his subordinates to attack together while Grand Dream's HP was still low. But before they could even launch their attack, One Immortal and Immortal Boo initiated a sudden counter-offensive, instantly sending Tianxia back to the revival point. With a calm smile, One Immortal remarked that, just as Tianxia had once said, striking first was the key to gaining the upper hand. The remaining members of Tianxia's group froze in shock and fear, unable to process what had just happened. Meanwhile, as Grand Dream recovered his HP, he asked whether they still intended to continue fighting. Xiaoniao immediately responded that it was time to test their Zongheng spirit and ordered everyone to hold their ground. However, panic quickly spread, and 2 female members turned and ran while declaring that they could not hold on, stating that Grand Dream's 4-digit damage output was too terrifying. The white-haired girl told them that whoever wanted to tank could do so, but she had no intention of being instantly killed. Dashu immediately shouted for them to stop, but in the same moment also ran away, telling them to wait for him. Immortal Boo questioned where their so-called Zongheng spirit had gone, because she had seen nothing impressive so far, while One Immortal burst out laughing. One Immortal then handed the 2 hidden class medals to Grand Dream, explaining that these were the ones he had kept earlier and were now being returned to their rightful owner. In exchange, Grand Dream handed over the hidden class medal and gear dropped by blood-drinking Mad Saber, stating that they all belonged to One Immortal now. Grand Dream told him that the medal should be considered repayment for the help he received at the beach. He also mentioned that he only needed one of the medals, and judging from its name, it should be an assassin-type hidden class with high attack speed. One Immortal emotionally asked if he could hug Grand Dream, but Grand Dream politely declined. Immortal Boo then asked Grand Dream again if he had truly decided not to join the Immortal Tech Group, holding his hands as she spoke, saying that their team atmosphere was excellent and that he would definitely enjoy himself and have fun if he joined. Once again, Grand Dream politely refused, telling her that if he ever decided to join an organization in the future, he would contact her first. One Immortal could not help but wonder when Immortal Boo had started addressing Grand Dream so differently. One Immortal then referred to him as Brother Expert again, and informed him that 100,000 star coins had just been transferred to his account, telling him to check it when convenient. Grand Dream was shocked by the amount, and reminded him that their agreement was 20,000 per person carried, but before he could finish, One Immortal asked him to listen first. One Immortal then explained that during this Bat Cave expedition the Immortal Group had obtained dozens of class medals, along with 2 crucial hidden class medals, and that Immortal Tech would likely rise to become a top-tier organization thanks to this achievement, all because Grand Dream led the team. He explained that Grand Dream had publicly defeated the strongest solo player, blood-drinking Mad Saber, meaning he was now effectively one of the strongest players in New Origin, and that even the company's upper management would instruct him to maintain good relations with him. He assured Grand Dream to accept the payment without worry, stating that the higher-ups would only be concerned if they had not given enough. Grand Dream accepted the explanation and gratefully thanked One Immortal, thinking that with 100,000 star coins, his family could finally afford ferocious beast meat every day. One Immortal then bid farewell, mentioning that Immortal Jiu had already revived outside the cave and that they were heading to regroup with him. Grand Dream waved goodbye and mentioned that he had heard the exit led to a new map and intended to explore it before they parted ways. Immortal Boo then asked One Immortal if he truly would not try harder to recruit Brother Expert into the Immortal Group, and instead of answering directly, he teased her, asking if she wanted to secure a favorable position and stay by Brother Expert's side every day. Watching Grand Dream walk away, One Immortal thought that in the future, the name Grand Dream would become a nightmare for all players, and felt relieved that he was an ally rather than an enemy. Meanwhile, Grand Dream continued walking deeper into the cave, wondering what lay down the branching path and whether it would lead to the exit. He soon noticed that no other players were around and wondered if it was just his imagination, as the environment felt increasingly cold. As he continued forward, he noticed how realistic New Origin felt and questioned whether the bone-chilling cold was truly an in-game effect. Suddenly his feet began to freeze in place, causing him to immediately question what was happening. At that moment, a gust of wind swept through the cave, and with a sharp cry, a giant mutated ice bat demon appeared before him. Grand Dream was completely shocked, questioning how a level 25 monster could appear here, and what kind of absurd stats it possessed. The giant mutated monster flapped its wings violently, sending a barrage of ice bullets straight toward Grand Dream. He managed to dodge the incoming attack with a quick movement, immediately noting that this opponent was even more insane than the last monster they had fought. The creature roared again as it prepared another strike, but Grand Dream's feet were completely frozen in place, trapping him in solid ice with no way to move. Realizing his situation, he cursed his luck and wondered if he was truly going to die here, until he suddenly understood that his only remaining option was to change his class immediately, reasoning that it was still better than dying and losing all his equipment, especially the fallen dagger, which he would genuinely regret losing. A system notification then appeared, asking for confirmation to change his class to Windspeaker, but before he could confirm, his eyes widened in disbelief. A strange incantation echoed through the cave, and the giant mutated monster was suddenly engulfed in purple lightning that paralyzed its entire body. Grand Dream quickly realized the monster had been immobilized and immediately called out asking who was there, but another incantation followed, and this time blue and purple lightning struck the monster together, dealing nearly 11,000 damage and instantly killing it. Grand Dream was completely stunned, unable to comprehend the 5-digit damage he had just witnessed, and even more shocked that the monster had been one hit deleted so easily. At that moment, Lunaria appeared and asked if Grand Dream was all right. When he respectfully addressed her as Lady Lunaria, she casually replied that since he was fine, he should take 3 strikes from her and be careful not to die. Confused, Grand Dream immediately asked what she meant, but Lunaria suddenly launched an attack toward him. Before her fist could land on his face, Grand Dream activated Blink and narrowly dodged the strike. He immediately commented that she was too fast, and that he had almost died there, acknowledging that the demoness's power was truly terrifying. Lunaria praised his reaction speed, informing that it was decent, but criticized him for relying too much on skills. As she moved around him, Grand Dream realized she was so fast that even his Eye of Insight could not properly track her movements. She suddenly appeared behind him, and although he failed to notice her at first, he still managed to dodge just before the attack landed, recognizing it as her second strike. Lunaria then drew her sword and asked if he had dodged purely by intuition, and as she prepared her third strike, she expressed interest in seeing how he would evade it. Grand Dream quickly jumped back to create distance, and told her that using weapons like this was unfair, but Lunaria ignored him, and suddenly accelerated to an even higher speed, leaving behind afterimages around him. In Grand Dream's mind, her movements were so fast it felt like she was constantly using Blink, but he forced himself to stay calm, knowing he had to block the final strike. He suddenly remembered blood-drinking Mad Saber, and reflected on their battle, realizing that Saber had once blocked his attack due to superior control skills. But in hindsight, it seemed he had also predicted Grand Dream's weak points, and exploited the Eye of Insight. Thinking in reverse, Grand Dream concluded that if he were Lunaria and had only one final opportunity to strike, he would target from behind. With that realization, he successfully intercepted Lunaria's third attack. A system notification immediately appeared, confirming that he had completed Lunaria's unique trial. Lunaria praised Grand Dream and asked if he would accept her as his master. A system prompt then appeared, offering him the legacy of the Holy Temple as a unique hidden class. Deep inside, Grand Dream felt a surge of joy, thinking that he had finally completed all of Lunaria's trials, and although the name Holy Temple sounded extremely powerful, he was still cautious. After a moment he accepted and asked what class it was, expecting that it must be overpowered. Lunaria then threw a hidden class medal toward him and calmly stated that their class was the Bard. Grand Dream realized that the class did not sound particularly strong and immediately questioned whether it was even better than the Wind Whisperer. Lunaria struck him lightly on the head and told him that this was the sole legacy of their sanctuary and that he should not act like an ungrateful brat. Lunaria could not believe he had actually obtained the Wind Whisperer, and although it was insignificant in the eyes of their sanctuary, it was still not bad. After that, she returned the Wind Whisperer medal to Grand Dream and casually remarked that he possessed quite a heavenly fate. Grand Dream immediately asked what she meant, recalling that she had mentioned the same term during their previous encounter. Lunaria explained that she could not reveal too much at the moment, and that in simple terms it could be treated as a hidden luck stat that determined a person's destiny, opportunities, and even survival. However, she also warned that exceptional talent often came with an equally heavy price. She then said she could sense that Grand Dream's reason for entering this world was different from others. When Grand Dream asked what she meant, Lunaria questioned whether his real body in the original world was currently dying. This shocked Grand Dream to his core, and he immediately wondered if his master was truly just an NPC, questioning how she could know about his real-world condition, and realizing that the game was far more complex than he had originally believed. Lunaria then stated that she had already said enough, and that revealing more would only bring disaster to him. She instructed him to wait until he inherited the Sanctuary's legacy before exploring further. As Grand Dream held the glowing hidden class medal, he could not help but wonder if the Sanctuary's legacy could save his real body. Although many things remained unclear, he felt that he had taken a significant step closer to the truth. Moments later, Grand Dream was enveloped in blue energy, and after a short while a system notification confirmed that he had successfully changed his class to Bard Apprentice. He immediately asked if the class change was truly successful, and checked his stats, only to find that very little had changed. Still excited, he asked his master about their combat abilities, and whether they had any exclusive ultimate skills like the one Lunaria had used earlier against the monster. Lunaria calmly asked if she had forgotten to mention that bards were a support class and did not possess ultimate attack skills. Grand Dream's eyes widened in disbelief as he shouted in shock, asking whether they were really a support class, still unable to accept it, and accusing Lunaria of misleading him. To calm him down, Lunaria said she would first teach him 3 skills. Grand Dream immediately tried to negotiate for 6 skills instead. Lunaria countered with 4. Grand Dream insisted on 5. Annoyed, Lunaria told him to take it or leave it if he did not want to learn anything at all. In the end, Grand Dream reluctantly agreed. As system prompts displayed the skill names, he immediately noticed the cost and asked Lunaria why there were gold coin requirements. Lunaria explained that there was an entry fee and questioned whether he really thought everything was free. This angered Grand Dream, who pointed out that she had already taken all his coins. Ignoring him, Lunaria casually took a weapon from his inventory and stated that they could simply use item trading instead, claiming she was a reasonable master. Immediately afterward, a system notification informed Grand Dream that he had lost the amethyst sword. Lunaria inspected the weapon and remarked that it was somewhat interesting, even calling it a divine artifact. She commented that the materials were decent, and that it was a waste to forge it into such a beginner-level weapon, but said she would reluctantly accept it. Grand Dream attempted to retrieve his sword, but another system notification appeared, confirming he had already learned Immobilizing Melody, Thunder God's Incantation, War God's Ode, and Sigh of the Stars. In his mind, Grand Dream realized that Lunaria had not changed at all and still took whatever she wanted, concluding that she was truly a demoness. He then reviewed the skill details. Immobilizing Melody could immobilize a target for 3 seconds. Thunder God's Incantation inflicted an electrified state that increased damage taken by 100% for 100 seconds. War God's Ode increased attack by 50% for 100 seconds. Sigh of the Stars increased agility by 50% for 100 seconds. After reading them, he was completely shocked, unable to believe that such powerful buffs existed even at basic levels, and concluded that Bard skills were truly extraordinary. Lunaria simply responded that now he understood and told him to train on his own for the time being, and that she would be in the main city next month if he had any questions. She then vanished. Grand Dream scratched his head, saying he still had many questions, but decided to save them for later and focus on training for now. Before leaving, he noticed something in the distance and discovered a class medal dropped by the giant frostbat. Upon inspection, the system identified it as a Frost Archer class change medal, also a hidden class. Grand Dream was pleased with the loot, unaware that Lunaria was still watching him. In her thoughts, even she could not fully see through Grand Dream's heavenly fate, and she decided to observe how he would defy destiny and reshape his own path. After some time, Grand Dream finally saw a light and exited the cave, arriving at the illusory dream plains. He was surprised by the beauty outside the Bat Cave and wondered if it was practically a fairyland. Suddenly, 2 women called out to him and questioned how he had come out of the cave entrance. The red-haired woman stated that their Group 12 had been blocking the entrance to trap the giant frostbat, meaning no one should have been able to leave. The green-haired woman ordered him to leave immediately, warning that he could not afford the consequences of interfering with Group 12's capture mission. Grand Dream immediately recalled hearing about Group 12 from one immortal, remembering that they were a corporation-backed organization likely targeting the mutated monster from earlier. Without warning, the red-haired woman suddenly vanished and reappeared in front of him, launching a surprise attack. She stated that they had already investigated, and that anyone coming out of the cave would have encountered the giant frost bat. She did not know how he survived, but if he had taken anything belonging to Group 12, he needed to hand it over immediately. The woman with green hair thought to herself that her teammate, Justice Cake, was the fastest striking warrior class in Group 12, so she could not believe that her attack had been blocked so easily by someone using only a dagger. As she carefully observed Grand Dream's weapon, she realized it was a gold-tier dagger. This led her to a rapid conclusion that the person in front of them was a teenager, deliberately hiding his player name and level, wielding a high-grade weapon, specializing in close combat, unpartied, and had cleared the entire bat cave alone. Alarmed by her realization, she immediately shouted to her companion, insisting they could not let him escape because he was Grand Dream, and he was currently carrying an enormous amount of valuable loot. Grand Dream calmly asked if they truly knew him, and the girl with red hair responded that they were very familiar with him, explaining that after his one-on-one duel victory over blood-drinking Mad Saber, he had effectively become a walking treasure vault. She further stated that if Grand Dream did not wish to offend Team 12, he should hand over his weapons and class medals. The green-haired girl also warned him not to resist, claiming they were both assault-type hidden classes, and that even the slightest movement would send him straight to the revival point, after which Team 12 would take turns blocking his respawn path, so it would be wiser to surrender everything obediently. Grand Dream laughed at their words and asked if they really believed having hidden classes made them special, or if they thought they could treat him like their personal resource supply. Without hesitation, the green-haired girl fired an arrow at him, while Grand Dream activated his skill, Sigh of the Stars, boosting his agility by 50% and raising it to 134, allowing him to easily evade the attack. The red-haired girl was shocked by his speed and immediately warned her teammate that Grand Dream had already changed to the Wind Whisperer class and to proceed with caution. The green-haired girl quickly recalled that Wind Whisperer granted a 30% agility boost and was known for its terrifying speed enhancement. A hidden class medal Team 12 had long been seeking, but had now clearly been taken by Grand Dream. Realizing they could not hesitate any longer, she urged her companion to use a finishing skill. The red-haired girl agreed and gathered energy while asking Grand Dream to endure her technique. Grand Dream praised her speed, but calmly stated that since they also relied on strength, he would entertain them for a moment. He then activated War God's Ode, increasing his attack power by 50%. The red-haired girl lunged forward with a powerful punch, declaring that speed alone would not save him and ordering him to take the blow. However, Grand Dream caught her fist effortlessly, asking if that was truly all she could offer. The girl was stunned, unable to comprehend how her strength-enhancing skill had been neutralized so easily, insisting that a Wind Whisperer should not possess any strength-based capability. The green-haired girl, growing anxious, shouted that there was no time to hesitate and immediately fired another arrow toward Grand Dream's back, but he once again evaded it effortlessly while criticizing its slow speed. The arrow struck the ground and exploded, dealing over 100 damage, causing Grand Dream to realize he had been careless, and confirming that the attack carried a special explosive effect from her class. The red-haired girl seized the opportunity to launch a surprise strike, confident she had finally landed a decisive hit. But before it could connect, Grand Dream used his immobilizing skill to restrain her completely. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she struggled, asking what had happened and why she could not move, before panicking and accusing him of inappropriate behavior while demanding he not look anywhere improper. Grand Dream, slightly embarrassed, insisted he had seen nothing, though the red-haired girl was convinced otherwise. The green-haired girl was even more shocked, realizing that immobilization should not normally work on a Wind Whisperer. At that moment, Grand Dream apologized briefly to the immobilized opponent and immediately launched a series of rapid attacks to finish her. Suddenly, 3 arrows flew toward him, and he realized there was still one opponent remaining in the fight. When Grand Dream dodged the incoming arrows, they suddenly exploded upon impact with the ground. He immediately realized that explosive arrows were far more troublesome than expected, since even if he avoided direct hits, the blast radius could still affect him. Now that her teammates were no longer present, the opponent was firing more recklessly than before. Grand Dream decided to close the distance and immediately activated Blink, appearing behind the girl in an instant. Using the opportunity, he launched a series of rapid attacks toward her back. However, the girl turned with a confident smirk and countered with a swift kick. Grand Dream managed to evade it and landed back on the ground, but he could not help wondering why her defense was so high. He then attempted to trigger the fallen dagger's 10 times damage effect, but before he could close in again, the girl unleashed a barrage of arrows while mocking his speed and telling him to move faster. Grand Dream resumed, chanting his skills, and attempted to attack from multiple angles, front and back. Yet even after activating War God's Ode, he still could not trigger the dagger's passive effect. Unable to deal significant damage, he began to suspect that something about the girl was abnormal. At that moment, she landed a clean kick directly on him, dealing over 100 damage and sending him crashing toward a massive rock. Immediately afterward, all of his buff effects expired. The girl calmly acknowledged that Grand Dream's class skills were quite impressive, and with such high stat boosts, she expected his mana consumption and cooldown limitations to be equally severe. With a serious expression, she asked if he had noticed that he could not trigger critical hits, and then stated she would explain the reason. Grand Dream was shocked when she revealed that she possessed a hidden item granting immunity to all critical damage, known as anti-crit armor. Although its duration only lasted 3 hours, the fact that he had forced her to use it already proved his strength. She then drank a health potion and prepared for her next assault, telling him that they should fully enjoy the remaining duration, since every point of damage she dealt would slightly improve her skill proficiency. She added that it was an honor to have the famous Grand Dream as her training partner, and more importantly, watching him struggle was highly entertaining for her. Grand Dream smirked and replied that she should be the one thanked instead, since he originally thought he would not have a chance to properly test his final skill, but because of her, he was now quite satisfied. As he activated his next skill, he calmly told her that it was fortunate she could endure such punishment. The girl was shocked again when she realized he was activating another buff. Grand Dream triggered Sigh of the Stars to boost agility, and War God's Ode to enhance attack power simultaneously. At that moment, realizing such powerful stat-boosting skills could be used repeatedly, she also noticed that he had not consumed any mana potions, and questioned what kind of class he truly possessed, stating that his abilities were completely breaking the game's balance. She then steadied herself, wondering why she was even panicking, since even if his skills were strong, there was no way he could penetrate her anti-crit armor. However, Grand Dream used Blink again to close the distance, and immediately began chanting his skill once more. The girl, smiling, praised him as someone who never gave up. But the moment Grand Dream finished his chant, she was struck by blue lightning. The effect of Thunder God's incantation activated, increasing all damage taken by 100% for 100 seconds. Fear began to rise within her as Grand Dream approached, his eyes glowing with blue lightning. He told her that she had been happily firing arrows just moments ago, and now it was his turn to enjoy himself. The girl's expression darkened as panic set in, and she urgently asked what his class truly was. At that moment, a memory resurfaced in her mind of her leader's warning, explaining that even among hidden classes, there existed a hierarchy, and according to internal military intelligence, the strongest among them was a support-type class. The red-haired girl had once laughed at this claim, questioning how strong a support class could possibly be. However, the report had described support classes as possessing overwhelmingly powerful buffs with extremely high stat enhancements, unusually low cooldowns, and minimal mana consumption. They were strictly warned never to engage such classes as enemies and to retreat immediately if encountered. The green-haired girl had once asked whether support classes were truly that dangerous, and what the name of such a game-breaking class was. The answer had been clear: the temple's unique inheritance, the Bard. The girl could not believe that she had actually encountered such a rare existence, and immediately asked how Grand Dream always seemed to possess such unbelievable luck. Grand Dream replied that he was also curious about that himself, but for now he needed to send her back to the revival point. Without further hesitation, he launched a series of consecutive attacks. After the final strike landed, the girl's body began to fade. Before she completely disappeared, she warned him that Team 12 would not let him go easily. Grand Dream, on the other hand, noticed that Thunder God's incantation had been extremely useful in the fight. He then checked the dropped items and obtained 2 silver tier gears, an explosive bow, and a bursting great axe. As expected, the anti-critical armor did not drop, but receiving 2 silver tier equipment pieces was still a profitable outcome, and he decided to sell them to one immortal later. Before leaving, he resolved to pay closer attention to hidden items in future encounters. After some time, he arrived at Mist Village and stretched his arms, commenting that he had been constantly targeted lately, leaving his nerves tense. Just then, he heard a familiar sound and tried to locate its source, until he remembered that all his communication devices were connected to his gaming helmet. He returned to reality and removed the helmet, then picked up his tablet after noticing that Hu Xiaoxian was requesting a video call. Jiang Lu happily greeted her, saying she had finally contacted him and that the gap between their conversations had been far too long. Hu Xiaoxian, while taking a bath, asked if he liked the gift she had sent him. Jiang Lu immediately panicked upon seeing her on camera while she was bathing and scolded her for initiating a video call in that situation, calling her an idiot. Hu Xiaoxian simply explained that cultivation time on Saturn was extremely valuable, and since signal reception there was nearly non-existent, she could only use her bath time to contact him. In a teasing tone, she asked if even the usually serious Jiang Lu was getting shy, and slowly stood up from the bathtub while asking if he wanted her to show a bit more. This caused Jiang Lu to call her an idiot again, as he covered his eyes and urgently told her to return to the bathtub. Instead of complying, Hu Xiaoxian wrapped herself in a towel and admitted that she had wanted to contact him for a long time, but Saturn was extremely empty, and she was completely alone on the planet without anyone to talk to. Jiang Lu then explained that once awakened individuals reached higher ranks, traveling between stars to cultivate in purer energy fields was common, although it required immense financial and resource support, something Hu Xiaoxian's family fortunately possessed. Still covering his face and looking away, he remarked that, as expected of a ridiculously wealthy level 7 awakened, she had been cultivating in outer space since awakening. Hu Xiaoxian responded that she could not help it, as her grandfather always believed Earth was unsafe. Jiang Lu then said he had been wanting to discuss the game New Origin with her, as it did not seem as simple as it appeared. Hu Xiaoxian casually asked if that was the case, teasing whether he was simply too inexperienced and blaming the helmet she gave him. Jiang Lu immediately shouted in protest that it was not that at all. He explained that he had met a teacher in the game who, despite being an NPC, was able to detect abnormalities in his real-world physical condition. Hu Xiaoxian asked if the teacher was a woman, but Jiang Lu insisted that was not the important point. Hu Xiaoxian then explained that she was not fully clear on the details either, but according to what she had heard, scientists had originally discovered a spiritual world within a meteorite, and with military funding, they developed it into a game that players could enter. She informed him that her grandfather had once told her that the monsters and NPCs in the game were not merely data, but beings that inherently existed within that spiritual world, meaning the character Jiang Lu met was likely one of them. Jiang Lu found this unbelievable, comparing it to transmigrating into another world, and asked if his teacher was actually a real existing person. Hu Xiaoxian explained that the reason she had sent him the helmet was because the game could influence the physical abilities of awakened individuals, and she believed it might be a chance for Jiang Lu to survive. With a serious expression, she warned him not to die. Jiang Lu widened his eyes and said he understood. Hu Xiaoxian then asked if his ALS-like condition had worsened recently, and told him he could ask her for help if needed, but before she could finish, Jiang Lu insisted he could handle it himself and abruptly told her to put on clothes before the call. At that moment, Yahello suddenly burst into the room, happily announcing that he had received a package. The room instantly fell silent, as Yahello realized there was a girl changing clothes on a video call with her brother. Jiang Lu immediately realized the situation had gone terribly wrong. Meanwhile, Hu Xiaoxian asked if she was Yahello and attempted to introduce herself as Jiang Lu's girlfriend, but Jiang Lu ended the call before she could finish. He nervously tried to explain to Yahello that it was not what it looked like. Yahello, still frozen in shock, suddenly ran toward the door while shouting for their mother, saying her brother was with a girl. Before she could escape, Jiang Lu grabbed her clothing and asked her to calm down and listen to his explanation, but as he collapsed from exhaustion, he admitted that he was running out of energy. After Jiang Lu gave a detailed explanation to his younger sister, Yahello smiled and asked if the helmet she was holding was the New Origin game helmet that the girl he was talking to earlier had given him. Jiang Lu whispered for her to lower her voice, warning that if she spoke too loudly their parents would hear them, and told her that he did not want to be caught staying up late playing games, otherwise their mother would definitely confiscate the helmet. At that moment, Yahello excitedly told him that she also wanted to play New Origin. Jiang Lu took the helmet from her and quickly apologized, explaining that when he logged into the game a binding prompt appeared, and that one helmet could only recognize one player's iris. Yahello replied that it sounded amazing, and insisted she also wanted one, but the helmet cost 1 million star coins, which was far beyond their means. Jiang Lu himself was shocked, realizing only then how expensive it truly was. Yahello held the helmet and explained that it was a limited Supreme Edition device, capable of realistically simulating all 5 senses inside the game world, and only the extremely wealthy or nobility could afford such a device, and then questioned whether Jiang Lu had checked the price before accepting the gift. She further explained that users of such helmets could even lie in the illusory dream planes and smell the fragrance of mist flowers as if they were real. Jiang Lu realized at that moment that he owed Hu Xiaoxian a massive favor. Yaner then casually suggested that if they could not afford the helmet, a 900-star coin game bracelet would also be acceptable. Just then Xiao Yu entered the room and told Yaner to stop bothering their older brother and acting spoiled. Xiao Yu also reminded her that Jianglu's health condition was fragile, causing Yaner to immediately apologize as she had momentarily forgotten about his illness. Jianglu quietly watched his siblings interact, and without saying anything he transferred 1,000 star coins to each of their accounts, telling them to use it to buy game bracelets, and that they could spend it freely since it was money he had earned in the game recently. Both Yaner and Xiao Yu were shocked when they checked their accounts and immediately asked how he had managed to earn so much. Instead of answering, Jianglu simply hugged them and told them not to worry about money and to leave everything to him. The two siblings, nearly in tears, jumped into his arms and wished for his health and long life, while Xiao Yu gently reminded Yaner to be careful. Jianglu then instructed them to level up in the game and warned them that once they reached level 10, they must not rush into choosing a class change under any circumstances. Both siblings nodded in agreement. In Jianglu's thoughts, he had already changed into the Bard class, and intended to leave the two hidden class medals for Yaner and Xiao Yu. If the game truly enhanced the abilities of awakened individuals in this era, then it was an extremely precious survival resource. Yaner then asked for Jianglu's in-game ID so they could find him after logging in, but Jianglu hesitated and said he was not currently in the beginner village. Yaner then suddenly asked if he knew Grand Dream. Xiao Yu also became curious and asked who Grand Dream was. Yaner laughed at her brother for not knowing, explaining that Grand Dream was currently the #1 player in the game, a top-tier existence that many classmates admired, and even someone people wanted to form parties with. She again asked Jianglu if he knew him. Jianglu was momentarily stunned and silently questioned whether he had really become that famous. Yaner continued excitedly, saying that Grand Dream had obtained numerous wild monster first kills and even defeated the strongest solo player, making him a target for many others, and she believed he was likely an awakened expert in real life as well. She did not realize that the frail older brother in front of her was exactly that same Grand Dream. Xiao Yu then gently pushed Yaner out of the room, telling her that since they already knew Grand Dream was impressive, they should let their brother rest. Yaner protested, saying she had not finished her story yet. After they left, Jianglu took a dose of medicine and explained that he had purchased 5 relievers for 10,000 star coins, which would temporarily suppress the symptoms of his ALS-like condition. He then picked up his helmet, reflecting that although his illness was temporarily controlled, he still only had 6 months left to live, and both his family's survival resources and his own future depended on this game. With no other option, he logged back into New Origin. Upon returning, he noticed that far more players were passing through the Batcave than expected, including even level 8 players, which made him wonder how they had progressed so far. Soon he saw a large crowd gathered in front of a massive gate and approached them. A man asked if he was there for the apprenticeship quest and informed him that it was useless because Lady Angel had not opened her door for a long time. Jiang Lu asked about the apprenticeship quest, and the man questioned whether he truly did not know, explaining that this was the residence of Apothecary Angel and that all of them had deliberately bypassed the Batcave monsters just to reach this place and trigger the quest. Grand Dream was shocked and asked how they had bypassed the cave monsters and whether fighting them was unnecessary. Instead of answering, the man called him a complete beginner and casually wrapped an arm around his shoulder, saying he would explain everything. The man then asked if he knew Grand Dream and explained that someone had reportedly seen Grand Dream become an apprentice and obtain the temple inheritance, which was believed to be the strongest class at this stage. He then remarked that Jiang Lu had been hiding his ID and level earlier, assuming he was simply trying to imitate Grand Dream. Grand Dream silently wondered if someone had really seen him at that time. The man then informed him that Grand Dream now had many fans, since he was regarded as the #1 player with the strongest class, and that many players in the Batcave were actively searching for quests to obtain the temple inheritance. Deep down, Grand Dream realized that his teacher had already left the cave long ago. Suddenly, a large man interrupted, questioning whether they truly believed Grand Dream was the strongest, and calling them ignorant, stating that no matter how strong Grand Dream was, he was still just a support class. He declared that once he obtained Lady Angel's inheritance, he would eliminate Grand Dream within minutes. Grand Dream was shocked that his class identity had already been exposed, realizing how quickly information about him had spread, and suspecting it was related to the 2 girls from Team 12. He then asked who Lady Angel was, but the man instead questioned whether he had not read the forum guides, and how he even managed to pass through the Batcave. The man then showed him a potion, and told him to examine its details. Upon inspecting it, Grand Dream was shocked to discover that its recipe source was Apothecary Angel, and he immediately questioned whether all potion recipes in the game originated from her. The man confirmed that 99% of the potion recipes currently available come from Lady Angel herself. Immediately after hearing this, Grand Dream questioned why he was acting so smug, but before the conversation could continue, the large man suddenly shouted toward the gate, explaining that he had died 3 times inside the Batcave before finally finding his way out. He added that they had already been waiting for 2 hours and demanded that Angel come out immediately because he wanted to become her apprentice. The brown-haired man told him to stop shouting and asked if he really thought someone would respond just because he raised his voice. Just then the house door opened and a figure stepped out. The creature was introduced as Butterfly Keke, a level 99 entity with unknown stats, who immediately declared that no noise was allowed. Grand Dream was shocked upon seeing such a high-level being and instantly asked what kind of monster Keke was. The large man ignored the warning and pushed past the others, loudly announcing that someone had finally come out and insisting that everyone listen to him because he was the one who had been calling for Angel and they should not compete for attention. However, Keke suddenly launched an attack, and before he could even react, he was already slashed, leaving him no choice but to ask how it happened, while also questioning whether this place was supposed to be a safe zone. Watching everything unfold, Grand Dream observed how fast it all happened, and realized he could not even clearly see the starting stance of the attack. If he had been the one targeted, he would not even have had time to activate a skill. Keke then turned and instructed Grand Dream to come inside. Grand Dream was shocked again, unable to understand how Keke recognized him and why he was being summoned. The surrounding crowd was equally stunned, with the brown-haired man asking if he really was Grand Dream, while others questioned whether the real Grand Dream had appeared here, or if some major figure had arrived. Grand Dream apologized to the brown-haired man for not revealing his identity earlier and thanked him for the useful information. The man cried out in excitement, revealing that he was a huge fan. Grand Dream then waved goodbye, while the brown-haired man remained excited, realizing that Grand Dream was younger than expected and even more handsome than the rumors suggested. As the gate closed again, the crowd wondered why Grand Dream had been allowed inside, with some suggesting they could attempt to force entry themselves as long as they avoided being cut down. Inside, Grand Dream observed the surroundings filled with various plants and commented on how beautiful the place was. When they reached their destination, Keke opened a door, and a girl inside immediately asked if he was Grand Dream, before remarking that he looked weak. This girl was introduced as Saint Tier Apothecary Angel. Slightly annoyed, Grand Dream asked why he had been brought there. Instead of answering, Angel asked whether Kiki's attack had frightened him and then offered him a blue potion as an apology gift. Grand Dream asked about its use, and upon checking its details he was shocked to discover it could increase agility by 800% instantly. He questioned what kind of overpowered potion this was, even more incredible than his own skills. Angel calmly agreed that it was powerful, and informed him that she had many other types of potions as well. Grand Dream asked if she was serious, and she confirmed that as long as he accepted her inheritance and changed his class to apothecary, everything she had would be his. Grand Dream fell silent in shock. Smiling, Angel stated that her condition was simple. He only needed to publicly give up his current class. She informed him that he did not need to worry about class change restrictions because she had ways to solve them, and asked if it was not a favorable deal. Grand Dream remained silent, unable to see through her intentions. He placed the potion on the table, politely thanked her for her kindness, and prepared to leave, which clearly irritated Angel. She then stated with a grim expression that she could also cure his ALS-like condition, shocking Grand Dream once again, as yet another NPC seemed aware of his real-world illness. Angel walked closer and explained that his teacher was not the only one capable of detecting problems in his physical body, and she could directly cure him and ask him to reconsider. Grand Dream immediately questioned how she knew about his illness, then wondered internally whether his condition could truly be cured, and whether that had been his original reason for entering this world, since the disease was effectively a death sentence on Earth. After a moment of hesitation, he told Angel that although his teacher was unreliable, often taking things without permission and behaving like a scheming demoness, he still preferred to retain the identity granted by the temple inheritance, and that he quite liked the bard class. He then turned and walked away, thinking to himself that he had given up a valuable opportunity, and that if she refused to help him, he would continue to pursue answers even after death. Just then, a system notification appeared, informing him that he had completed the hidden quest Angel's Trial 1, and had also triggered Angel's Trial 2, requiring him to survive Butterfly Keki's attacks for 1 minute. While Grand Dream stood frozen in confusion, trying to understand what kind of trial this was, Keke suddenly launched an attack from behind without any warning. Before it could land, Grand Dream instantly activated his blink skill and narrowly evaded the strike. He immediately questioned what was happening and why such a hidden quest had been triggered so suddenly. Lady Angel observed his last-second dodge with interest and asked if he was prepared for Keke's assault. Grand Dream informed her that from the very beginning he had already sensed Lady Angel's killing intent, and that Keke had been radiating hostility toward him ever since he stepped into the room. Angel was impressed by his perception and immediately instructed Kiki to kill Grand Dream without giving him time to chant any skills. Grand Dream managed to evade another strike and, as his hand brushed the potion on the table, he informed Lady Angel that he had already finished chanting the moment he turned around earlier to leave. He informed her that no matter how innocent her smile appeared, he did not trust unprovoked goodwill. As the countdown dropped to 38 seconds, Grand Dream continued evading Keke's relentless attacks, each one narrowly missing him, and he realized how dangerously close every strike was, while also being shocked that Keke could keep up with him instantly. While continuing to dodge, he could not help but wonder how high Keek's agility stat actually was. He knew that a single hit would instantly kill him, so even though he was struggling, he pushed his body to its limits to avoid every attack. Lady Angel soon noticed something was wrong, realizing that even with Grand Dream's skills, he should not have been able to dodge Keek so easily. She then noticed that the swift potion on the table was missing, and asked when he had taken it. Grand Dream laughed and told her that the potion's effect was even more powerful than he had expected, and as expected of a Saint-tier potion, his agility had now exceeded 1,000. Angel became furious, unable to accept that he had used her potion without permission, and immediately ordered Keke to show no mercy and kill him instantly. Keke then charged its weapon with blue lightning in preparation for a decisive strike. Grand Dream noticed that there were less than 10 seconds remaining, and that he needed to survive until the countdown ended. Just as Keek prepared to strike, Grand Dream suddenly dashed forward toward Lady Angel, shocking her. He smirked, and before Keke's attack could connect, he shifted sideways at the last moment and evaded it, forcing Keke to halt mid-motion. Keke landed beside the still-stunned Lady Angel, and at that exact moment, the countdown reached 0. Grand Dream collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath, as a system notification confirmed that he had completed Angel's Trial 2. He felt relieved that it was finally over, and acknowledged that Keke was truly a terrifying opponent. However, before he could rest, Keek once again raised its sword, and slowly approached him, dragging the blade across the floor with a chilling screech. Grand Dream shouted that the 1 minute had ended, and the trial was complete, but Keke ignored him, and launched another powerful attack. Terrified, Grand Dream wondered if this was truly the end for him, but before the strike could land, Keek's sword was suddenly knocked away. Keek froze in place, shocked by the sudden intervention of Lady Lunaria. Lunaria stood between Keke and Grand Dream and told him that he had some nerve, stating that she had heard everything he said about cursing her. Grand Dream, however, was simply relieved and surprised to see his teacher appear. Lunaria tapped him on the head and warned him that blindly trusting an enemy's time rules was what put him in danger, criticizing his lack of experience. She then turned to Lady Angel and stated that since she imposed a 1-minute limit, she should abide by it. Lady Angel crossed her arms and angrily asked who gave Lunaria permission to interfere, pointing out that this was her trial, and even addressing her as sister. Grand Dream was shocked upon hearing that Lady Angel referred to Lunaria as sister. Lunaria then introduced Angel Dai to Grand Dream as her sister and the one she had chosen to treat his real body. Explained that the situation escalated only because Angel insisted on personally testing him before agreeing to help. Lunaria then criticized Angel's training method, stating that it seemed more like personal revenge than proper evaluation. Angel scoffed and asked if Grand Dream was not the sole disciple of the temple inheritance, questioning how anyone would know his potential without testing him like this. In Grand Dream's mind, he confirmed that both sisters were indeed demonesses in their own way, yet his teacher had still gone so far to help him. However, Lunaria quickly clarified that she did not want him misunderstanding the situation, explaining that she simply did not want the heir of the temple inheritance to die prematurely, as he was far more useful alive. Angel interrupted again, saying that Lunaria clearly could not resist interfering because she was emotionally triggered by Grand Dream's earlier remarks, and that her reaction only proved how easily she was swayed despite her age. Lunaria became visibly irritated and stated that whether Angel believed it or not, she could send her to the heavens right then and there, ordering her to stop wasting time and heal Grand Dream immediately. Angel refused, questioning what Grand Dream's survival had to do with her, and insisting that he had not even passed her final training. Grand Dream's expression darkened after hearing the mention of a final trial, and at that moment he received another system notification, informing him that he had triggered Angel's Trial 3, requiring him to craft a low-tier swift potion. Lunaria then asked whether Angel was being serious, reminding her that she had spent an entire month researching just to successfully develop the swift potion. Angel merely smiled and waved her off, telling her that if she had so little faith in her disciple then she could simply take him back, while also mentioning that she was busy and still had many things to do that day. Grand Dream then asked Lunaria whether making a swift potion was truly that difficult. Lunaria explained that although her sister had absolutely no combat talent, the buff effects of her potions were genuinely extraordinary, using the swift potion as an example, and stating that even though it was only low tier, it still provided a 50% agility increase. Grand Dream was shocked, realizing that a low-tier potion could already rival the effects of bard skills. Lunaria confirmed this, and teasingly remarked that her sister's original motivation for developing potions was simply to prove she was better than Lunaria herself, calling Angel childish. Angel immediately responded that it was not childish at all, and questioned what a bard could do that she could not accomplish with her potions. Lunaria then explained to Grand Dream that the experimental process behind high buff potions carried extremely high risks, and when Angel was first developing the swift potion, she had accidentally blown up 3 laboratories. Angel, clearly annoyed, told Lunaria that it was none of her business. She adjusted her glasses and told them to stop wasting her precious time, instructing Grand Dream that if he wanted her help he would need to pass this training and prove himself. She then asked him to watch carefully because she would only demonstrate the process once. Grand Dream agreed and immediately activated his Eye of Insight, focusing intently as he told her to begin, intending to capture every detail of her movements. Angel then demonstrated the first step, explaining that he needed to extract the seed of the explosive stargrass, which was hidden deep within its leaves, and that it could not be crushed with a pestle, requiring careful extraction using only his fingers. The process continued rapidly as they reached step 14, where Grand Dream needed to expose Ice Marrow to air until it reached equilibrium, carefully rotating it with controlled wrist movements while constantly observing its reaction. While watching closely, Grand Dream thought to himself that as expected of a Saint-tier apothecary, Angel's movements were as smooth as flowing water, and if he lost focus for even a moment, he would miss critical details. He then recalled the class hierarchy and realized that although apothecary was considered a lifestyle class, reaching Saint-tier placed Angel among 1 in a million existences within the system. By step 30, the final stage, he needed to integrate a fingernail-sized wind element crystal into the reagent without rushing, waiting for full fusion. Just like that, Angel completed her demonstration of the low-tier swift potion and told Grand Dream it was now his turn, stating that all he had to do was follow her instructions exactly, and asking if it was not simple. Looking at him, Angel called him an arrogant kid for not even taking notes, saying she was now eager to see how he would embarrass himself. She further warned that to prevent him from blowing up her laboratory, Keke would immediately cut him down if he made a single mistake. Grand Dream's expression darkened with tension, thinking that Angel felt even more like a demoness than his own teacher, although the detailed instructions were still extremely helpful. Lunaria then tapped his shoulder and asked if he was confident, telling him not to push himself too hard. Grand Dream responded with full confidence that he wanted to try, and Lunaria reluctantly agreed with a tense expression. In Angel's mind, she considered that the apothecary class had no system assistance, and its difficulty far exceeded what Earthlings considered a game. Recalling how she had been ridiculed by Lunaria during her own early research, which was why she now wanted to see how capable her sister's disciple truly was. Lunaria then asked Angel whether she would still help Grand Dream after he completed Angel's trial. Angel asked if Lunaria truly had so much confidence in him. Lunaria explained that although the world had been modified by Earthlings, allowing many basic classes to auto-learn skills, both the Temple Inheritance and Angel's apothecary class remained untouched by those modifications. She then asked Angel if she understood, explaining that the Bard class was not something one could simply obtain by possessing a class medal. Angel asked what she meant. Lunaria further explained that to gain approval from the successive Supreme Elders, the inheritor must faithfully recite a long and complex ancient incantation contract, and even a single mistake would result in failure, with only one attempt permitted. She informed Angel that the language itself did not exist on Earth, and she originally believed Grand Dream would need at least 3 days to memorize it without understanding its meaning. Yet he had managed to memorize it perfectly in just 10 minutes after she dictated it. Lunaria told Angel that Grand Dream remembered every sentence flawlessly, including pronunciation and order, to an abnormal degree. She also mentioned that she once asked him about his memory, which had already surpassed normal human limits. Grand Dream had explained that at the age of 8, his parents discovered he had a photographic memory and initially celebrated him as a genius, believing his ability to be limitless. However, shortly afterward he collapsed and was diagnosed with an ALS-like disease, leading his parents to believe his memory was more of a curse, where extreme intelligence came at the cost of his lifespan. Lunaria then asked if Angel understood that a simple 30-step potion process was not even a challenge for Grand Dream, and her earlier concern was only whether he could apply what he memorized, but that concern now seemed unnecessary. At that moment, Angel was shocked to realize that Grand Dream had already reached the final step of the process, and she also noticed that Keke had not moved at all, meaning every step he had taken so far was correct. She could not help but ask how such a thing was even possible. Grand Dream then informed them that he had succeeded, followed by a system notification confirming that he had completed Angel's Trial 3. In addition, he leveled up and received 5 pieces of intermediate-level Swift Potion. As Angel observed Grand Dream's Swift Potion, she was amazed that he had truly managed to create it, after seeing the process only once. As an apothecary, the more types of potions one develops, the more likely one is to encounter a bottleneck, known as the limit of memory capacity. Every stage of development requires an enormous amount of theoretical knowledge as support, making photographic memory an ability every apothecary dreams of. Angel had even attempted to create potions to enhance memory capacity, but due to a lack of precedent, all of her attempts ended in failure. Now, she had finally encountered someone who possessed the strongest possible memory. Just then, Keke swiftly moved behind Grand Dream and injected him with a green potion. As Grand Dream collapsed to the ground, Lunaria immediately asked what Angel had done and what she had injected into him. Angel told Lunaria not to worry, explaining that she was simply probing Grand Dream's Spring of Souls to uncover the secret behind his memory. She then placed her finger glowing with golden light on Grand Dream's forehead, instantly allowing her consciousness to enter his spiritual world. Angel explained that the Spring of Souls represented a person's spiritual world, and those with strong memories often possessed a more powerful spiritual world than ordinary individuals. She further explained that for ordinary people, the Spring of Souls was only a small trickle, while she had once seen Lunaria's own Spring of Souls, which resembled a waterfall. This comparison irritated Angel, who believed Lunaria was clearly unattractive and fierce in personality. Angel then observed Grand Dream's Spring of Souls, which initially appeared unremarkable. However, as she followed it deeper and exited the cave-like boundary, Angel's eyes widened in shock. She immediately asked if this could still be considered a Spring of Souls, as something else seemed to exist beyond it. There, she saw a towering palace that shocked her even further. Standing before it, she wondered if this place was what was known as a mind palace. She began inspecting it while explaining that, according to legend, supreme gods with extremely powerful divine consciousness could construct mind palaces within their spiritual worlds. Before she could continue her observation, a golden shockwave erupted, and a mysterious voice ordered her to leave. Angel was forcibly expelled from Grand Dream's spiritual world by the shockwave. After she collapsed back onto the ground, Lunaria immediately asked what had happened. As Angel recovered, she told Lunaria that inside Grand Dream's spiritual world, there was indeed a mind palace. Lunaria asked if Angel was certain, and at that moment Grand Dream woke up and asked what a mind palace was. Angel smiled and told Grand Dream that he was truly hiding deep secrets, and informed him that it was her first time seeing a mind palace, and that it was incredibly extraordinary. Grand Dream replied that he simply had a habit of organizing his knowledge. Angel then stated that she was willing to help, but she had one condition. Lunaria told Angel not to push her luck, questioning how she still dared to impose conditions. Angel ignored her, and told Lunaria to let go of her. She then moved behind Grand Dream, wrapped her arms around him, and declared that she wanted Jianglu to accept her inheritance. Grand Dream was slightly shocked, and asked how she knew his real name. Angel smacked him on the head and told him to call her teacher, explaining that after entering his Spring of Souls, it was only natural that she learned his true identity. Lunaria smiled and told Angel that as long as Lure maintained his connection with the temple inheritance, she did not mind which amateur he learned life-saving skills from. Angel, irritated, asked Lunaria to clarify herself and questioned who she was calling an amateur. She stated that if Lunaria had the courage, she should stop using her potions in the future. Grand Dream then asked Lunaria if it was acceptable to accept Angel's inheritance. Lunaria winked and told him that bards were not so rigid, and that survivability was the underlying logic of this world. Lunaria then told Angel that she had already humored her long enough and asked her to hand over the potion that could save Jianglu. However, Angel calmly stated that she had not yet developed such a potion, which immediately angered Lunaria. The two sisters then began arguing, with Lunaria accusing Angel of wasting their time only to reveal there was no cure. Angel responded that she never said there was absolutely no solution. She then produced a blue potion and explained that it was a reincarnation potion she had developed. After Grand Dream consumed it, even if his physical body died, his soul would continue to exist in this world. Angel then asked Lunaria whether this also counted as a viable solution. Lunaria fell silent for a moment, before suddenly beginning to strike Angel again, declaring that she would beat her to death that day and pretend she had never had a sister like her. Just then, Angel quickly interrupted, telling Lunaria to wait because she still had one more method. She further explained that although the next method was extremely difficult, it was not entirely impossible. With a firm voice, Lunaria immediately told her to speak without delay if she truly had a method. Angel then explained that according to legend, there existed a Styx potion record, scattered somewhere within what they called the game world, containing the production method of a certain potion. It was said that after drinking it, one would endure 8 hours of bone-breaking pain, but the body would undergo a complete rebirth like a phoenix rising from the ashes, breaking free from its old shell and gaining new life. The mention of rising from the ashes and new life deeply shocked Grand Dream. Lunaria then asked where exactly this potion record could be found, but Angel admitted that she did not know either. Lunaria sighed and told Angel that after speaking for so long, she still had not provided any real help, concluding that it was a waste of emotion to expect anything from her. Angel and Kiki both became irritated and demanded that Lunaria repeat her words. Grand Dream then told his teacher that even if such a legendary potion record were found and the potion successfully created, consuming it within the game would not resolve his ALS-like condition in reality, asking if he was correct. However, Lunaria responded that Grand Dream should leave that problem to her, stating that as long as the potion could be created, she had her own methods to ensure its effects would reach his real body. Angel also reassured them and referred to Jiang Liu as her apprentice, saying that once they found the potion record, she would personally take action and successfully create the potion. Lunaria, however, teased her again, suggesting that Angel merely wanted to monopolize the potion record and was using Jiang Liu's heavenly fate as a tool for treasure hunting, calling her despicable. Angel angrily demanded clarification, insisting she was genuinely trying to help. Grand Dream then obtained Angel's potion notes, and Angel explained that they contained recipes suitable for his current level, saying he could freely visit her laboratory and even take herbs and plants from her garden whenever needed. Grand Dream happily accepted and immediately thanked his teacher, Angel. Angel then asked Lunaria if she saw that, proudly stating that she was very dedicated to her apprentice. 1 hour later, Grand Dream successfully produced both attack and defense potions, with remarkable effects providing 50% buffs, and managed to create 100 of each, which she considered more than sufficient for now. Angel praised him for succeeding on his first attempt, calling him a truly moldable talent, and stating that she had not misjudged him. Lunaria then called him Jiang Liu, and explained that regarding clues to the Styx potion record, he would still need to travel deep into the Misty Mountains, since an item of that level could not remain undiscovered in known maps. She also revealed that neither Angel nor she were present with their true bodies, and that this world imposed many restrictions on their actions, meaning Grand Dream would need to rely on himself from now on. Grand Dream was shocked by this revelation, realizing that his teachers had also logged in from another world. As he waved goodbye to them, Lunaria wondered whether allowing Jiang Liu to take Angel as a master was fulfilling Angel's desire or simply letting her have her way. Angel simply winked and said it was a win-win situation for both of them. As Grand Dream walked toward the gate, he noticed the surroundings had become unusually quiet compared to before. Upon seeing Keek, he realized that the level 99 monster that had once instantly killed a player with a single strike was present, making it understandable why the crowd had fled. As he walked along the village street, a man reported to his guild, instructing his companion to inform their captain that Grand Dream had emerged and was now heading toward the Misty Mountains. Just then a system notification appeared in front of him, revealing a message from his sister Yan-Er. Yan-Er informed Jiang Liu that she had joined an organization called Flowerful Pavilion and had reached level 6. She also mentioned that they had bypassed the Bat Cave and were preparing to grind levels at the entrance of the Misty Mountains, saying she had secured a spot for him and urging him to come quickly. Jiang Liu wondered if Yan-Er intended to carry him through leveling, and asked where Xiao Yu was. He messaged Xiao Yu, who responded that he was still level 4, and that the organization Yan-Er joined only recruited girls, preventing him from entering. Jiang Liu then thought about Flowerful Pavilion, an organization he had never heard of before, and as he also needed to enter the Misty Mountains, deciding to use this opportunity to observe their strength and character. At the foot of the Misty Mountains, Yaner immediately noticed Jiang Lu upon arrival and called out to him excitedly. She was happy that he had arrived and asked why his ID and level could not be seen. Jiang Lu explained that he had hidden them and praised Yaner for leveling faster than Xiao Yu. The group of girls, however, reacted with hostility, saying there seemed to be another imitation of Grand Dream and questioning whether Jiang Lu thought hiding his ID and level made him mysterious. Another woman commented that they had just lost a sister in the Bat Cave and would not normally allow an outsider to join. A girl on the left questioned whether bringing someone of unknown background would slow them down. Meanwhile, while the group continued speaking, Jiang Lu quietly assessed them and confirmed that they included a hidden class assassin and 3 backline members. He also deduced that their frontline tank had likely died in the Bat Cave, which explained why they were temporarily accepting him as a replacement damage absorber. One of the girls shook his hand and introduced herself as vice captain of Flowerful Pavilion, asking him to call her Red Rose. Jiang Lu introduced himself as Yan Er's brother. Another girl asked if he had no intention of revealing his ID, and questioned whether he was truly Grand Dream. A teammate dismissed the speculation, informing them that Grand Dream's weapon alone ranked first on the leaderboard. She then criticized Jiang Lu's equipment, saying it looked like beginner gear. Yaner, visibly annoyed, defended her brother and insisted it was not true, saying he had been playing the game for a long time. Jiang Lu stopped her and calmly said it was fine, then thanked them for helping his sister level up, saying Yaner was still young and asking them to forgive any reckless behavior. Red Rose agreed, thinking to herself that even after being mocked directly, Jiang Lu remained calm, which made him seem surprisingly magnanimous. She then explained that during their previous attempt to bypass the Bat Cave, the sister responsible for the frontline role had failed to make it out alive. Because of that, they would now need Jiang Lu to temporarily act as their frontline tank, and she asked if he was willing to accept. After Jiang Lu agreed, the group continued advancing deeper into the Misty Mountains. While walking, Jiang Lu realized that too many things had been happening in succession, leaving him no time to properly check the messages in the group chat. He wondered if he had missed important information and decided to review it carefully after helping Yaner farm some monsters. Dozens of minutes earlier, inside the Wild Monster group chat, a vampire bat had reported that his 2 hidden class medals had been taken by Grand Dream. For the monsters, Grand Dream had already moved too far out of reach, but a treant responded that they should leave him to it, explaining that they had already been informed of his arrival in the Misty Mountains and that he would make Grand Dream suffer here. After some time, the group encountered monsters within the forest, specifically a level 13 treant with 2000 HP and spike assault abilities. As the treant launched its attack toward the group, Grand Dream swiftly intercepted and cut through its vines. Red Rose praised his speed and immediately instructed her teammates to take advantage of the opening and continue firing arrows to wear the monster down. After Jasmine successfully restrained the treant, Red Rose followed up with a decisive strike, cutting it in half. The girls immediately cheered in celebration after successfully defeating the monster, stating that they would likely level up again today. Meanwhile, Jiang Lu observed Red Rose's leadership, and he noticed that she remained calm under pressure, acted decisively, and issued clear and precise commands. He also observed that her teammates trusted her greatly, concluding that Yaner had indeed joined a solid team, and that allowing her to level here for now was a good decision. Red Rose then called out to Jiang Lu and commented on his quick reaction speed, assuming he must be a speed-type warrior class, saying that having him as their frontline gave them a strong sense of security. Jiang Lu simply replied that he was flattered. However, one of the girls clicked her tongue and dismissed his contribution, saying he only blocked a little damage, and that even her grandmother could have been carried to victory by following them. The other girls agreed with her. Just then, Yaner excitedly told her brother that his previous movement had looked really cool, but before she could finish speaking, Jiang Lu noticed a sneak attack heading toward them. He immediately grabbed Yaner and leapt away to dodge the strike, warning everyone to be careful. The girls were shocked and quickly asked what had just happened. At that moment, a boss tier, rare tier, and elite tier monster simultaneously emerged from the forest. The girls panicked and urgently asked Red Rose what they should do. Even Jiang Lu was surprised to see 3 special monsters appearing together. Red Rose immediately ordered everyone to retreat, stating that this was not something they could handle. As they ran, Jiang Lu assessed the situation and agreed with her judgment, concluding that retreat was the only option for now. However, one of the monsters suddenly blocked their path, and in an instant they were completely surrounded. One of the monsters reached out and asked where they thought they were going, shocking everyone since it was the first time they had heard a monster speak. Red Rose immediately realized the severity of the situation and concluded that this might be the end for them. Before the monster could strike, Jianglu used his bard skill to bind the giant creature. He then informed everyone that they were completely exposed and instructed them to hide behind a large boulder for the moment, explaining that although the monsters were large, they had a speed advantage in positioning. After following his instruction and taking cover, Red Rose asked what they should do next. Jianglu drew his weapon and calmly stated that since they were already in this situation, they might as well attempt to fight. The girls immediately disagreed, arguing that his skill could only restrain the monster temporarily, and that if he wanted to show off, he should at least consider the timing. A girl in purple supported her teammate, questioning whether Jianglu had ever even seen a special monster before, and asking how they were supposed to fight something like this. Just then, one of the girls noticed Jianglu's weapon and recognized it as the Fallen Dagger, ranked first on the weapon leaderboard. The girl with red hair remained doubtful, and asked her teammates if they had seen it clearly, and whether it was truly the Fallen Dragon, also questioning whether Jianglu could actually be Grand Dream. A girl on the left responded that it was difficult to confirm, saying many people now used similar daggers to imitate Grand Dream. The girl in purple then asked how Jianglu could prove that he was truly Grand Dream, but Jianglu chose not to answer her and instead turned to speak directly with Red Rose, completely ignoring the question. Jianglu used his ability to grant a buff to Red Rose, and she could hardly believe what she was experiencing as her attack and agility instantly increased by 50%. It was the first time she had ever seen such an overwhelming enhancement, and she found herself wondering what kind of class Jianglu truly possessed. Even the other girls were stunned, unable to hide their amazement at the sheer strength of the buff. The red-haired girl quickly tried to make sense of it, questioning whether it was some kind of priest-type support skill, and how Jianglu was able to apply it repeatedly without limitation. Jianglu calmly explained that his ability would last for 100 seconds, then proceeded to take out 2 potions and show them to the group. He explained that the potions carried effects similar to his buff, although their duration was only 40 seconds, and he decided to hand them over, instructing the girls to use them at the right moment to quickly finish the battle. He then warned that the monsters would soon catch up to them, and directed Red Rose to drink both the Swift and Strength potions before initiating the attack on the elite monster, while the rest of the team was told to focus on ranged attacks, separate the enemies, and look for opportunities to support Red Rose from a safe distance. When Red Rose considered the remaining threats, she briefly wondered how they would deal with the boss and the rare monster, but Jianglu paused only for a moment before stepping forward, drawing his dagger and taking full responsibility for handling both of them on his own. Yenner quietly questioned to herself whether her brother had always been this reliable inside the game. Meanwhile, as Red Rose dealt nearly 200 damage to the elite monster, she was left in disbelief at the power behind her own attacks, something she had never thought possible against an elite enemy, and she soon realized that her movement speed and evasion had also increased significantly. At the same time, she noticed that her teammates were dealing far more damage than usual, reaching levels they had never achieved before, and she could hardly believe that the 4 of them were now capable of holding their ground against an elite monster, all because of Jianglu alone. For a brief moment, the thought crossed her mind that if someone like him joined their guild, their strength would rise to another level, but she quickly dismissed the idea as unrealistic. Turning her attention back to him, she was shocked to see Jianglu fighting 2 special monsters at once, and her surprise only deepened when she realized that he had already defeated a rare monster. What stunned her even more was the damage he dealt, which had reached 3,600 in a single strike. A system notification then appeared before everyone, announcing that the player Grand Dream had achieved the first kill of the rare monster Trient, followed immediately by another notification informing Jianglu that he had obtained silver tier gear, including Moonfall gauntlets, Moonfall cloak, and Moonfall boots. The girls were left speechless, their jaws dropping as they began to question whether Jianglu was actually Grand Dream, wondering if a top-tier player had personally joined their team. The red-haired girl could hardly process the fact that the powerful buff she was experiencing had been applied by such a figure, while Yenner, still hiding behind the large boulder, was equally stunned as she finally realized that her own brother was none other than Grand Dream, the #1 player in the game. As Grand Dream turned his focus to the boss monster, the creature itself seemed shocked that he possessed the temple inheritance, and when Grand Dream sought confirmation, the boss reacted with anger, unable to accept that such a once glorious inheritance had fallen into the hands of someone it considered unworthy. Driven by rage, the monster resolved to kill him, but as Grand Dream prepared for the next exchange, he remained calm, fully aware that the creature could not match his speed and would not even be able to land a hit. He then activated Thunder God's incantation, doubling his damage output for 100 seconds, and as he launched forward, the boss monster muttered to itself, sensing a resemblance between Grand Dream and a figure from its past. In the next instant, Grand Dream's attack struck cleanly, and the boss was defeated without resistance. Another system notification spread across the players, announcing that Grand Dream had achieved the first kill of the Treant boss monster. With the victory, he leveled up once again and obtained a skill transfer scroll and a skill proficiency scroll, causing the entire community to react to his back-to-back achievements. Feeling satisfied, Grand Dream quickly opened his inventory to examine his rewards, equipping the newly obtained items and recognizing that his gear had finally been upgraded, with the added benefit that the stat bonuses from his elite set would remain permanently. The system spirit then appeared to congratulate him for becoming the first player to exceed 100 agility points, granting him a unique hidden skill called Shadow of Lightning. This skill allowed him to summon a shadow clone that inherited 60% of his stats and increased his lightning attribute by 10% for 10 seconds, and he could control it freely through his thoughts during its duration. Grand Dream felt genuinely pleased with the reward, acknowledging that despite its high mana consumption, the skill was exceptionally powerful. However, he was still uncertain about the use of the scrolls he had obtained, prompting the system spirit to explain that the skill transfer scroll could move abilities from one piece of equipment to another, such as transferring the blink skill from an elite necklace, while the skill proficiency scroll could directly increase the proficiency of any chosen skill without requiring repeated use. After understanding this, Grand Dream decided to use the proficiency scroll on his war god Oda, instantly raising its effectiveness so that it now granted a 100% attack boost lasting 200 seconds. He was amazed by the result, realizing that this was only the intermediate level and beginning to wonder just how far the Bard class could go. Not long after, another system notification appeared, announcing that Red Rose had achieved the first kill of the Treant elite monster, making Grand Dream realize that their side of the battle had also concluded. The girls erupted in excitement, unable to believe that they had actually secured an elite monster first kill, and after celebrating Red Rose's achievement, one of them remarked that Flowerful Pavilion would surely gain recognition because of this. As the excitement settled, Grand Dream calmly congratulated Red Rose on her accomplishment, bringing the intense battle to a satisfying close.